Once upon a time, there were two unsuspecting people who met on Survivor, fell in love, and led a crazy life full of ups and downs. But no matter what, they stuck together through it all. Through thick and thin, through sickness and health, Boston Rob and Amber defied the odds to become some of the biggest names in the world and dominate reality television's biggest game shows. This is the story of America's sweethearts. This is the story of Boston Rob and Amber. Thank you for watching the content I make, along with liking these videos and subscribing. It helps support this channel, but if you want to watch what I make early and even pick what videos I make, then consider supporting Once Upon an Island on Patreon. It costs only a few bucks a month and you can cancel at any time. Thank you for your support.
39 days, 18 All-Stars, 1 Survivor.
Boston Rob, aka the Rob Father, previously played on Survivor's 4th season, Marquesas, and now he returns for their 8th season in Survivor All-Stars. His time on Marquesas was quite memorable. Despite him being the first boot when the tribes merged, he had no issues stirring up trouble, causing fights, and generally just trying to control how the game was being played by everyone. He did have some iconic confessionals, and he just made for great TV. However, he was a loose cannon when it came to how the game was played. He romantically aligned himself with Sarah Jones, but at the tribe swap, they got separated and she was voted out. He was essentially a lone wolf trying to make everyone else be a part of his pack. Out of everyone who plays on All-Stars, Boston Rob is the one I recommend the most watching my original video about. Get to know his Marquesas game, then come back to this video and we will explore the evolution of him and his game. Amber Burkich was a castaway who returned from her time on Survivor's 2nd season, Survivor the Australian Outback, to play on Survivor's 8th season, Survivor All-Stars. Her time on the Australian Outback had her strategically as Jerry Manthi's sidekick all season, and her character moments mostly focused on her love for food and how that was all she was really thinking about, even when Jerry was using that same food as a metaphor for sex. She ended up getting pretty far in the game last time, but that was mostly due to her tribe's alliance having the numbers through the post-merge game. The reality is that neither of these players have individually shown us prior to this season that they are future winner material. In fact, they both have huge glaring flaws that would stop each of them from reaching the end or winning if they did get there. But maybe, just maybe, if they make some tweaks and they combine forces, then they can become one super player, but with 2 votes. But if either of them goes home too early, then it would likely be game over for them both. What is important to know about Survivor All-Stars is how the tribes are separated. For the first time ever, there are actually 3 tribes of 6. The Mogo Mogo and Saboga tribe each have 2 former winners, and Chapera, the tribe that Boston Rob is on, has none. The Chapera tribe consists of Rob Sesternino, Sue Hawk, Boston Rob, Amber Burkich, Alicia Calloway, and Big Tom. Chapera is definitely the outlier tribe this season with no winners, meaning there are no big targets immediately on the board. Now, unlike in past seasons, there is no marooning by Jeff. The players get dropped off at their beach with a machete and a map to the water well, and that's it. Meager supplies at best. In Boston Rob's first confessional of the season, we hear some incredible foreshadowing by him. He says that Survivor All-Stars is going to be so cutthroat, it won't be any fun, and this same confessional also highlights what makes him so great at talking to us. He loves to make us, as the audience, feel like we are in on his thoughts and secrets when he says things like, "You hear me and you understand?"
All-Star Survivor is going to be so cutthroat, it's not even going to be fun. Nobody trusts anybody. Nobody trusts anybody. Do you understand?
The Chapera tribe then finds their water hole, and it doesn't look clean at all. In fact, it looks really nasty. Boston Rob explains how they are in some dire circumstances with this water that needs to be boiled to be clean enough to drink, and yet they don't have any fire to do so. Once again, he asks us a question to make us feel like we are a part of his conversation and not as if we are just being talked to.
I mean, it's just like they dropped Jeff. All right, go ahead. There's a cooking pot and a machete, a water source. What would you do?
As Chapera is trying to figure out where to build their shelter, we hear from Rob in another stroke of his confessional brilliance. He says once again he is on the stupid tribe and he is the only smart one there again. Oh, the pain and agony of being the only smart one. That's what he wants us to feel. While this was not true in Marquesas, and it could be argued it isn't even true here, it doesn't matter. Boston Rob is painting us a picture and crafting a narrative for us that has us thinking his way, even if all the facts don't line up with what he is saying.
I didn't know I was going to be again on the buffoon tribe, but apparently I'm the brains behind this operation, so we're going to have to make it work somehow.
Sue, unlike the rest of Chapera, doesn't care if the water is dirty. She's drinking it anyways. So when Boston Rob finds this out, he calls her name and then paints it to us like, oh, if she gets sick and leaves, that hurts the tribe as a whole.
I drank 4 big coconut. I left the coconut shell up there. It's like 3/4 of a coconut shell.
Dumbass? I don't know what Sue is up to. If you get sick and you have to check out of this game, you're leaving 5 other people here to do the job of 6.
The next day, Rob did not sleep well, so he wants to work on fixing the shelter. However, Chapera still doesn't have fire, and Alicia wants to focus on that instead. Do they agree to work on their own separate things and just split up? No, they both instead unnecessarily fight with each other in front of everyone.
There's not one person here doesn't understand that you two have not been able to sleep. 6 people haven't had water. That's what I'm thinking.
Been busting our ass trying to make fire since we got here.
Never heard so much crybaby titty sucking in all my life. We've bitched about the clothes, we've bitched about the weather, and we bitched that God ain't give us no water.
Boston Rob then labels Alicia as a drama queen and says, if you're looking for the facts, you come to him and he will give them to you. In a way, he is being the Rob father with us right now. We don't need to think for ourselves. Boston Rob will tell us the facts, and that's all we need to know.
I'm not yelling, I'm just saying, call it like it is.
I am calling it like it is. We just talked about it. We all are calling it like it is.
What can I say about Alicia? She's a drama queen. You want the fact, you come to Mariano, you get it as it is. She's a drama queen.
However, Alicia points out that, hey, Boston Rob is acting like he's the king of the camp, and who designated him this position?
Somebody has to say something. They can't just do that. Who made Rob the master of this camp and Amber his little in-pocket girl? When did that happen?
While we hear from every single member of the Chapera tribe in the opening scene on the beach, Amber is almost invisible until halfway through the episode when Boston Rob offers her an alliance, and even though she smartly agrees, we don't hear from her about why she agrees, we just hear from him about it.
So what do you think? You want to make an alliance? Cover our own asses?
I don't know if I can take you seriously or not.
I'm being 100% serious. Do you want to?
Yeah.
Her one and only confessional this episode is when they finally receive tree mail, and she is hoping that at the challenge, there's an opportunity to win some fire because so far, they have had no success making any.
It seems to be an immunity challenge, but we're hoping within an immunity challenge we can win some fire because our tribe is, we're hurting pretty bad.
Right after she agrees, we hear from him about why he offered, and let's say he seems lovesick already. Now this seems similar to what he did with Sarah Jones and Marquesas, except she is a totally different personality from Amber. In that season, I would say he's lusting. Here, it's definitely something more.
Amber and I have an alliance for obvious reasons. She's beautiful, obviously. Any idiot can see that. I trust her. I don't think she's gonna screw me.
They finally receive tree mail, and when Boston Rob goes to read it, Sue says she won't come over and instead just wants him to speak up. Like, read your note, but I'm all the way over here. I'm not coming over for it. When he reads it out loud, he emphasizes a certain word to her in a hint fashion.
So you wanna come over?
Just speak up.
Why start now?
Speak up.
In a show of unity. Unity. Your flag shows tribal pride.
At that immunity challenge, they win. And as Mogo Mogo crosses the finish line in second place, Richard Hatch is naked, and you can hear Boston Rob telling him to put his junk away. Back at camp, Boston Rob seems impressed that his self-labeled tribe of misfits won. To be fair, in Marquesas, his tribe was always losing, so this is new territory for him. He says that they are the underdogs and once again is crafting a narrative that you should be rooting for him.
We're the biggest bunch of misfit survivors you can put together from 7 seasons. And we go out there and win it. We are the ultimate underdogs.
And that's it for the premiere episode. However, there is also a bonus scene that isn't shown until the recap episode this season, but it is so good I have to mention it here. Saboga is going to tribal council, so Chapera does a mock tribal council themselves where they predict who will be going home while also having fun imitating the other players. Amber does a hilarious Tina Wesson. Alicia is Jerry Manthe, Big Tom is Rupert, Sue is Jenna Lewis, Rob Cesternino plays Jeff Probst, and Boston Rob is Ethan Zahn.
How's my hair, Jeff?
I think it is time to vote.
Jenna, I'm sorry to have to vote for you. It's just a game. Sorry, babe.
While this isn't part of the official story, it does reinforce what we will see later, but for now, let's just enjoy it as the joke that it is.
Lord, please forgive me for my language that I'm about to use right now. But Miss Jerry Manthe, I am voting for you. My vote is for Jerry.
And that's it. We don't know anything about her life since she played last time, or if she plans on utilizing any different strategies this time. Nothing. Things we heard from other players in this premiere, nothing from her. As of now, it seems like she will not be an important part of the season, and she may not even last very long. This premiere was a packed one for Boston Rob. He dominates the screen time at Chapera and is in an obvious narrator position. He takes the spotlight and he's not letting it go. Now this is similar to Marquesas, where once he felt confident, he narrated every episode he was in, so this isn't new to him. However, he is on a tribe that seems to be having fun, winning challenges, and he's falling for the cute girl on the tribe. This is a much better starting position than what he was in previously. He wants to be the big man on campus and is ready to cut down everyone else in the eyes of, well, us, the audience. He is a master of confessionals where he always does them in a conversational way that draws us in. It makes us feel like we are part of whatever he is talking about. It is truly unique, and the closest comparison up until this point in Survivor history is probably Rob Cesternino. So let's see how this all pans out. It is now episode 2 and neither tribe has any fire, not even Saboga, who went to tribal council, which means that they can't boil the parasite-filled water from their well, and therefore they're dehydrated. However, it is raining now in Panama, and this causes a celebration by Chapera as they sing and dance.
We got some water. We got some water. We got some water. Have you ever seen the rain falling down on the dawn?
Each tribe is then given a box, and what's inside? They don't have any idea. What they do know is that there are 3 locks on it, and if it is anything like the treasure chest in Pearl Islands, it probably has food. Boston Rob says, screw it, let's just bust it open, why not? But no one else agrees with him. He then says that they are all scared of Jeff Probst, who he roasts openly on the show. However, if any of his tribe were to look at what he is trying to do more closely, they would see a guy who is willing to do anything, including breaking the rules.
You guys want to open it? When we first got that box, my first inclination was, forget about the note, we're starving over here. We just smash it open. Everybody else was saying, oh no, we don't want to do that. We might upset Pretty Boy Probst or something.
At the reward challenge, Saboga wins some lousy blankets, but it is pointless as Jeff gives every tribe a pot and flint instead so they can all make fire, plus the first key to that box. Back at camp, the feud with Alicia continues as Boston Rob and her fight about how to make the fire in front of everyone. He says that she has a big mouth and she needs to learn how to shut it. Now, while he is saying this to us and therefore it is technically private, thoughts like those will subconsciously affect how you treat someone.
I came back here and I knew exactly how to build a fire and get it started. But of course, Boston Rob and Big Tom, these guys are so macho.
Alicia's just talking a little bit too much. She walks around giving orders constantly. It's her nature. She got a big mouth. She needs to learn to shut it.
Chapera wins immunity and Boston Rob is ecstatic.
Chapera, first across, wins immunity.
We move on to episode 3 where each tribe is tasked with building the best shelter they can in 24 hours. Since Boston Rob's day job is being a construction worker, he says how this is the perfect challenge for him.
I'm in construction and I love to build things if I have tools. And I was pumped. I was like, yeah, this is for me. This is my challenge. We're winning this.
Amber elects to sit out, but Boston Rob is leading the project, and while he does, she checks him out and finally tells us her thoughts on her alliance with him, but mostly about how she just really has the hots for him.
And I'll admit, when I saw him building that shelter, he was pretty hot building that shelter. He's good at doing what he does. It's getting much easier and easier to flirt with Boston Rob.
While Boston Rob and Big Tom are like 2 peas in a pod working together building the shelter, and they've kind of been like that all season so far anyways, Cesternino and Alicia are designated to do the not as important work, such as making a rock garden. Boston Rob once again explains to us exactly what he thinks of Alicia.
Her vision is about as deep as... yeah, that's about how deep it is.
Right after that, he starts his rampage that we saw hints of in the bonus scene, but really saw when he dissed Probst, where he will tear down every single male this season to make them appear not as great as we might think they are, but definitely less than what he is. Here he says that Sesternino is lazy.
Sesternino, I think, is useless all around. Seems like he's on a never-ending coffee break.
Thanks to the efforts of Boston Rob and Big Tom, they win the reward challenge pretty handily and get an awesome crate full of stuff. Now, do you remember earlier when we saw Amber getting hot and heavy for Rob? Well, that is enhanced when they pop open the reward box and get some alcohol, and she openly admits to wanting to kiss him in front of everyone, which undoubtedly is telling the rest of the tribe just how close they are.
If you're gonna kiss me now, because I'm not kissing you with nasty breath later on. Now you got wine breath.
Whoa.
At the immunity challenge, the Chapera and Saboga tribes are surprised when Jenna Maraska quits due to her mom's health getting worse and worse.
Due to someone who's very ill at home right now, that's getting worse. I need to pull myself out of the game.
A few people then express their opinions on quitting, including some who don't agree with Jenna's decision at all, and Amber is actually the first one to console Jenna and offer her a hug.
I feel really bad for her. Can I give her a hug?
Of course.
As it turns out, her mother passes away not too long after she arrives home, so she definitely made the right decision here. Moving on to episode 4, everyone has noticed how close Boston Rob and Amber have become, and Sesternino makes it plain as day what he expects, but hearing these things from multiple players in the tribe just puts a target on Rob's back.
You're so
Rob and Amber were laying on the thing, kind of getting a romantic mood.
Boston Rob and Amber are gonna do it. I don't know when, but they're gonna do it.
At the reward challenge, the players really get to interact with each other by playing an elaborate matching game. When Boston Rob gets to go for the first time, he calls Ethan a pretty boy. That is male number 3 now that he has cut down this season.
Pretty boy.
Who's pretty boy?
Wow, he looked right at me. Must be son.
Ethan.
You got a rock in there?
You got a couple up here, don't you? Oh, snap.
Later on, he calls Richard Hatch Dicky in reference to how Hatch is almost constantly naked this season. That is male number 4 now that he has made a dig at.
Dicky, give me a driftwood.
I knew I lifted it too high.
Good job, Boston Rob.
They do win the reward challenge, and back at camp, Big Tom is wearing their new toilet around his head, being his usual goofy self, and it's pretty funny. Boston Rob makes another remark to cut down what is now male number 5.
Big Tom put the toilet over his head. I'm willing to bet it's not the first time Big Tom's had his head in the toilet.
Using the supplies they just won, Boston Rob bathes Amber and says how this is risky because it could show others how close they have gotten, but I think at this point this ship has clearly sailed.
We're not so sure if it's a good idea if we bathe each other, because the tribe might get the wrong idea. However, soap and scrubs with the women.
Now they have the clue for the final key to the box. As Boston Rob looks for it and struggles, Sesternino tries a different approach. It isn't dumb, but Boston Rob paints him as being really dumb for even trying something different, and the show does this as well.
I look over, the kid's building a friggin' sandcastle on the beach. He looks like he's 12 years old, you know, he got his shovel there and he's just putting it together.
However, not long after that, Boston Rob finds the last key and is the hero, as the box that they open contains rice and whiskey inside of it.
I got it! I got it!
At the immunity challenge, for the first time all season, Chapera loses and finally needs to cut one of their own. Back at camp, Amber approaches Big Tom with an idea. She says, hey, why don't we vote out Rob Sesternino, as she is sure that they can get Boston Rob in on the plan and have the numbers. She says that she knows Boston Rob will be on board with this plan, and that's really great for him. He's not being targeted.
This is what I think. You and me, Boston Rob will be on our side. So I'll vote out
We then see what is very interesting in the storytelling, especially for us watching. At first glance, it seems like Boston Rob and Sesternino are creating an alliance right before Tribal Council. However, upon closer inspection, it is clear that actually this conversation had to have taken place sometime in episode 2, as the facial hair now here in episode 4 is way longer, but here in this scene, it's way shorter than it was in the scene before and after this one. So why is the story showing us this way later? It seemingly makes Boston Rob look mean and Sesternino look stupid since he is about to be voted out.
As long as I have your assurance on this, then I'm good. You want to shake on it?
At Tribal Council, Jeff asks Amber what she can contribute to the tribe that she takes from her regular life, and she says that she is really good at calming people down and keeping people from getting into fights, in particular Alicia and Boston Rob.
I think we have a few on our tribe who tend to lose their temper pretty quickly or throw fits, and I think I'm very good at calming people down and talking some sense into them.
Through some more talk at Tribal, Probst finds out about the romantic duo of Rob and Amber. Amber says that, hey, she's just young and having fun, and totally plays it down. Her and Boston Rob both act like it's nothing and say that the game is more important, which seems to be working, as no one is connecting the dots that this is also part of the game.
I'm out here to play the game of Survivor. I'm not out here to play a dating game.
Amber's plan works, and they do end up voting out Rob Sesternino unanimously.
Rob, the tribe has spoken.
It is now episode 5, and at the next reward challenge, there are big stakes. The losing tribe will be dissolved and drafted into the 2 remaining tribes. Saboga loses, and therefore Mogo Mogo gets Ethan Zahn and Jerry Manthe, while Shapira gets Rupert and Jenna Lewis.
Rupert, no longer a member of Saboga, you are now a member of Shapira.
We then see the immunity challenge, where it is the Boston Rob show through and through. First off, he seemingly hurts Ethan Zahn on the battle bridge.
Come on, Rob! First one to hit the water's out. Oh! Boston Rob hit the water first. Ethan took a big header on the side of the pool.
Then he takes on Colby Donaldson and wins.
Come on, Rob! Go, Rob!
Colby hits the water first. Boston Rob moves on.
And then, in a much less dramatic fashion, he beats Kathy Vavrick O'Brien.
Come on, Rob!
Kathy hits the water. Let him go.
And after crushing 3 fan favorites back to back to back, his tribe gives up and just lets him do all the work. And sure enough, it works, as he almost single-handedly wins them immunity.
Boston Rob is out of control.
I'm jumping off so Rob can go. Okay.
What do you want me to do? Boston Rob has the winning flag. Shapira wins immunity.
Back at camp, he paints himself as this scrappy underdog who just pulled out a win over the big dogs. Mind you, Shapira has been dominating all season, but Boston Rob is here to craft a narrative where he is that hero.
Felt real good to be able to propel my team to the win. And I may not be as strong as some of them, but I guarantee I'm tougher than every single one of them.
Oh, and don't worry, he still takes the time, and the show takes the time to tear down Colby.
Colby? Yeah. He's not as tough as you think, ladies.
We move on to episode 6, where Rupert is doing his usual thing of fishing and providing for the tribe. Despite this great service he is doing for everyone, Rob proceeds to cut him down when talking to Tom.
Rupert's catching fish. I'm happy. He can continue to feed me until it's time for him to go, and that time will be determined by me.
Boston Rob's ego is really getting bigger and bigger by the episode, and at this point, there's only one male he hasn't cut down, and that is Lex. And it's probably because he really hasn't had a chance to do that yet. Later on in the episode, we learn that Sue is emotionally distraught, and that is because at the last immunity challenge, Richard Hatch got naked and purposely ran into her with his package. Rob isn't entirely sure what to think about this, as he has a few theories about why Sue is emotionally distraught. It could be that she really is emotionally distressed. It could be that she wants money in a lawsuit, or this could be a game move for her.
Sue is either A, looking to cash in on a huge payday, or Sue is really emotionally distraught by the whole thing, or Sue's using this as some kind of a leverage to play the game of Survivor.
He says he can't really know for sure since he isn't her, but it definitely seems like he thinks this is a game move, which is actually more representative of how he frames everything in his own head. Amber thinks that because they are on Survivor, Sue has a lot of time to sit and think about this, and that all that time has just amplified how bad the event was for her.
I think it's just gotten worse and worse in her head as it's gone along. I think maybe at first she was thinking, oh, you know, I can get him for this, but now it's really starting to bother her.
Later on, we see Amber roping Rupert and Jenna into a conversation with herself and Rob where they all four say yes, let's make an alliance. But how Amber and Rob frame this alliance is as if her and him are on the bottom of Chapera and they need to join with Rupert and Jenna, who just came over and probably feel like they're on the bottom as well. It is brilliant manipulation and everyone agrees to this alliance.
Rob and I came up with the idea to approach Rupert and Jenna, tell them that, you know, we think we're on the outs, we think we're in trouble, we'll save you if you save us.
So I got alliances with everybody now, except Sue and Alicia.
At the reward challenge, it turns out it wasn't just a game move, as Sue does blow up on Jeff Probst and quits the game.
I was violated, humiliated, dehumanized, and totally spent, Jeff. It wasn't sorta, Jeff.
That night back at camp, the rest of Chapera makes a pact to be the final six, and with that, Rob and Amber have an onion alliance intact. As of now, it is up to them how their outer layers are defined, but basically it is Big Tom and Alicia on the most outer layer, Rupert and Jenna in the middle, and they are the core, meaning Rob and Amber are the core of that onion.
This is it, guys. I'm in it, no matter what it was. Go Chapera. 1, 2, 3, Chapera!
The next morning, the Chapera tribe receives tree mail that tells them that there will be no immunity challenge since Sue quit, so they hold a not so serious moment of silence.
Let's have a moment of silence for Sue.
Yeah, we don't have any whiskey.
Let's have some rice. Let's have some rice.
Amber then tells us how Chapera is the best when it comes to being happy and making light out of anything. She says how a good portion of Survivor is simply maintaining good spirits, which is absolutely true for the pre-merge.
You can never count out Chapera for making a sad moment into a happy moment. We're the happy tribe, and somehow we always find a way to laugh about it.
Moving on to episode 7, where Chapera has their amazing winning streak on the line. Reward and immunity are up for grabs, and as they row to the beach, they have fallen behind. Boston Rob rushes into the woods after Ethan does, and who comes out first?
Boston Rob has passed Ethan. Made up a lot of ground.
And it isn't even close, as he catches them up and helps them pass Mogo Mogo, securing reward and immunity.
Chapera wins reward and immunity.
Since they won, Chapera gets to bring one Mogo Mogo with them on the expensive yacht reward. They pick Kathy, and when they do so, they make sure she feels welcomed and loved by them all.
We got a new girl, her name is Kat.
We got a new girl, her name is Kat.
She fits in just like that.
She fits in just like that.
The Chapera crowd, you know what they've got that we don't have is they're having fun. They're enjoying the game.
On that yacht, there are food, drinks, and golf. When being handed some drivers, Rob says how he was on the state championship team in high school, and this is immediately followed by him goofing and smiling.
I was on the state championship golf team at my high school.
Oh. There goes the drive.
Oh no!
Oh my God. Just every time.
Trouble.
Every time.
Yeah.
Episode 8 brings with it a reward challenge that sees castaways from each tribe facing off one-on-one on a rolling log. Whoever falls in the water first loses. Rob faces off against Ethan and...
Ethan versus Boston Rob.
He then faces off against Lex, the only male who he has yet to trash in some way or beat in some way, shape, or form, and...
Lex versus Boston Rob. Boston Rob working it. Lex reacting. Lex staying on.
Amber dominates both times she does this and actually secures the victory for her tribe.
Amber looking very confident. They're up and going. Jerry first in. Amber scores for Chapera. Now. Kathy first in. Amber wins reward for Chapera.
That night at camp, Rupert says he has walked up on Rob and Amber multiple times where they look extremely guilty. We then hear from Amber about how at first she was just stringing Rob along, but now she has really grown some feelings for him.
Definitely at first I was stringing him along. The flirting was a huge strategy in the beginning, but then I got caught up in it and feelings.
Rob says she is perfect and compliments her, and then for the first time on camera, later on, Rupert is fishing once again, but now he has a Hawaiian sling that they got from their last reward. Rob trashes on him to us and once again does it with Big Tom by making fun of his obsession with catching fish and the way he talks. It comes across as mean-spirited and wholly unnecessary since Rupert is super nice and is always providing for his tribe.
Rupert's all excited about having the Hawaiian sling. You know, it's his baby. Now he can catch a fish and show how much he's worth to the tribe. This guy talks baby talk. What is that? You ever notice that?
My name is Rupert. I'm a big and strong fisherman in the Pearl Island.
Rob then paints us a picture that what Rupert does for Shapira is easy. Any idiot with this sling can catch fish because, as he says, the sling does all the work, so anyone can just catch fish like Rupert. This is all once again mean-spirited and has Rupert saying he doesn't like Rob's cocky attitude.
I know just as well as anybody else. It's like basically going to the pet store and grabbing one of the goldfish containers and just picking out which fish you want. Boston style.
Other times I see kind of an arrogant pain in the ass.
At the immunity challenge, Boston Rob beats Jerry, and once again, Shapira is safe.
Wide to the right, that's it. Shapira wins immunity. Mogo Mogo, heading to Tribal Council.
The next episode, episode 9, is a recap, which does not affect the overall story, so we move on to episode 10, where...
Reach in and pick a buff. You're now a member of Shapira. Have a spot on the red map.
Wow. They are swapping tribes this late in the game for the first time. A bit crazy, and what is even crazier is that literally everyone just swaps to the other tribe. So nothing has really changed at all except for Amber, who is the only one to stay on her original tribe, but now with everyone else from the other tribe. It's kind of confusing, but also shocking. And therefore, she is in a terrible situation for her game, and ultimately, this could hurt Rob's game as well.
Amber is the only one to change tribes.
As the tribes go to part ways, multiple members of the old Shapira tribe come back and hug Amber. They clearly feel a very close connection with her, especially Rob, who is now separated from her for the first time. This couple is in a very fragile part of their relationship, and with them being separated, this could spell doom for them, as now Amber is in a precarious situation that if she can't get out of, she won't even make the jury and will simply disappear once her torch is snuffed. They both have some real work to do. Back at camp, Rob is very emotional over being split up from his girlfriend, while Amber feels the same. He seems a lot more upset than she does when we cut between the camps. Amber tells us that this situation she is in is an interesting one, but ultimately feels like she got screwed when all she wanted was just to go to wherever Rob went.
When Jeff held up the new pot full of buffs and we're all picking them out one by one, really the main thought that was going through my head was, let me just pull the same color that Rob pulls.
Now that she is on a tribe full of former Mogo Mogos, it feels do or die for her. Either way, it is clear that she means a lot to him and he means a lot to her.
I care about her. It kills me to have her over there by herself. I don't really care that the other team has our camp now. As much as we're crying about it over here, it doesn't matter. What aggravates me is they got my girl over there.
Shapira wins immunity, and this puts Amber in an incredibly tough spot. On the way from leaving the challenge, he cuts a deal with Lex to sway him to save Amber, where he specifically says, you take care of her, I'll take care of you. If you can, if you can.
If you can, if you can.
Back at camp, there is no secret about him and Amber, and he doesn't care, as he puts an A right on his arm to show how much he misses her.
I put an A on my arm for Amber. Hopefully she makes it to the next challenge.
At the Shapira camp, Amber talks to Kathy and begins by pitching they vote out Jerry instead, and even gets on her hands and knees to do so.
I'm voting for Jerry. That's my desperate attempt. Can I get down on my knees and beg? Please, Kathy, keep me in the game. Vote for Sherry.
However, she then has a serious discussion with Kathy where she wheels and deals and makes some promises about what will happen in the post-merge game if they keep her, basically promising, you will have more power if you keep me. She also finds out from Kathy that when they do merge, Lex and Big Tom have a secret alliance, and Big Tom is planning on flipping to Lex to do whatever Lex wants.
Well, doesn't he think that Big Tom will be on his side in the end? He does think Big Tom will be on his side. Okay, yeah.
After much deliberation between Kathy, Sheehan, and Lex at Tribal Council, they all do help Amber vote out Jerry, and she is saved.
Jerry, the tribe has spoken.
Episode 11 starts with Boston Rob being an absolute mess. We hear from Big Tom that this reminds him of having to wean a calf from its mama on his farm. It may take a few days, but eventually it will happen. Rob is just so lovesick.
I never seen Rob all screwed up like this. And it'll take about 3 days to get a calf weaned from its mother. A human's about the same.
After that, a strange deal is made. Boston Rob is trying to cover all of his bases at this point, and he actually makes a deal with Alicia, who he doesn't like and has been feuding with for pretty much the entire season. They agree to not write each other's names down at Tribal, and this is a big promise to make as they are essentially making a final 2 deal.
We can have like a little silent alliance going.
I will never write your name down.
All right.
I will never
promise you.
write your name down.
I will never write your name down.
That's it.
At the reward challenge, when her old tribe sees that she is still in the game, they are genuinely excited. She really is loved by them all. Rupert wins the individual reward challenge and brings along his close ally Jenna Lewis, which makes sense, but he also picks Amber as well since he feels bad she has been with the old Mogo Mogo for 1 whole day. They do end up having fun on the reward, and Amber gets to truly embrace being a girly girl.
I'm in heaven with 2 goddesses.
While on that same reward challenge though, Jenna and Rupert are talking a lot about what to expect, their alliances, stuff like that, basically about how to get to the end of the game. And Amber reminds us that she has made a deal with Kathy and Lex that they could go to the end with, but she knows she can't tell Rupert and Jenna that, who think they're also going to the end with her and Rob, which is all they're talking about on the reward anyways.
I was a little nervous because I made a deal with Lex and Kathy that they could come to the end with me, Big Tom, and Rob. I couldn't tell Rupert and Jenna that.
Sometimes it's better just to know when to say nothing. And finally, on day 26, Jeff Probst finally says,
This time the buck. It is the merge color.
Back at camp, Amber helps come up with the new tribe name, and someone says it sounds a lot like a dance, so they all dance.
How about Jaboga Mogo?
Jaboga Mogo.
Sounds like a dance. That's
Jaboga Mogo. Jaboga Mogo.
Rob is talking with Lex, and while he does, it is intercut with a mafia-like confessional to us. This is the cold-blooded killer we saw in Marquesas. He basically tells Lex to his face that I won't backstab you, as he is telling us in a confessional that Lex is stupid for ever believing Rob in the first place. He isn't going to save you, Lex. It is truly an iconic moment, as we had no reason to believe that Rob was lying until right now.
As soon as we merged, Lex comes running over to me. Rob, make me feel comfortable. Tell me that I'm safe. But I certainly won't be happy about that. I won't stick a knife in your back now. I'm gonna do that. Well, I'm making the deal, save Amber, and I'm gonna help you later on? You guys didn't really believe that, did you? Come on.
Rob then talks to Amber about cutting Lex, and on paper, this is the best move for their game, as Lex really does pose the largest threat to their Shapara 6 alliance, which is on course to hold strong until the end. Amber says, why not Jenna and Rupert first? She is worried if they vote out Lex, all eyes will be on her and Rob.
Because as soon as Lex is gone, Big Tom doesn't have a leg to stand on.
While she is right, Rob's gameplay is all about eliminating anyone who resembles any threat to him as soon as possible, and she is worried about breaking deals. But at this point, they have deals with pretty much everyone in the game except maybe Sheehan. The smart move is to cut someone from Lex's alliance of 3 instead of from their foursome of Rupert, Tom, Jenna, and Alicia. Betraying the Shapara 6 this early would spell doom, and despite getting themselves into a hole with all these deals, those same deals will ultimately carry them until the others realize that maybe their deal isn't the real one that Rob and Amber will be honest and true to.
I was like so happy when I seen you married. I was so happy.
At the immunity challenge, for the first time in Survivor history, a man and a woman can win and will win individual immunity. Boston Rob and Kathy both do just that.
He's got it! Boston Rob comes from behind! Wins immunity!
Nice effort. Safe at the vote tonight.
What happens next is one of the most iconic moments in all of Survivor, and you can really feel the weight and importance of this as the conversation is happening. You see, all season Lex has said countless times about how friendships don't matter this time. It is all business. He even uses this reasoning to cut his friend and former Alliance member from Africa and Ethan when talking to him.
I think that at this point, it's better for my game if we vote you out tonight. But it has nothing to do with friendship. This is business.
He tells Ethan before Tribal, where he votes him out, that he will be voting him out next, and that, hey, it's not personal, I have to do this. Ethan doesn't like this and tries to save himself, but overall, he handles it like a champ.
Lex, as much as you say you want it, this is business, it's not.
It's not easy for me to tell you this because I know how disappointing this is.
So when we get to this conversation between Boston Rob and Lex, it is almost the same exact thing, except now Lex is in the Ethan position and Rob is in the Lex position. Rob is trying to do what he thinks will please Lex by telling him before Tribal that he won't be stabbing him in the back, instead he'll be stabbing him in the front, as the Chapera 6 are sticking together and will be voting him out next. Lex takes this incredibly hard and complains that he screwed up his game for Rob, that what he did for Rob was not even a game move, but just a friend helping a friend. Rob is correct when he says that if what Lex is saying is true, that this was really just a friend helping a friend, then he shouldn't be taking this so hard.
I can't even believe what I'm hearing. Let me tell you something right now. That was not a game or strategy decision.
It wasn't a strategy decision. You have nothing to be angry about.
And I did that just because you're my friend.
You would have for and you would have tried to bait
I completely my own game.
But obviously, as we saw before, it is a game move that Lex intended to exploit Rob for. He thought saving Amber would get him, Kathy, Big Tom, Rob, and Amber to the final 5 since Amber promised him and Kathy that. He says he can't even believe what he's hearing right now after he did Rob the special friend favor.
You're asking me to screw everybody else now.
You got more allegiance to them than you got to me. After asking me for a special friend favor.
This is a lose-lose situation for Rob. If he blindsides Lex by voting him out, Lex will be an angry juror. If he blindsides him by voting out Kathy or Cheyenne, Lex will rampage at camp. By the way we know that this is exactly what will happen is because the same exact thing happened in Africa and basically is repeating itself here. If he holds true to Lex, he will screw over Tom, Alicia, Rupert, and Jenna, and that is 4 jurors. He is in a lose-lose situation no matter what, and it came at the cost of keeping Amber, who is just as much a part of this as Rob, except her hands are staying clean. She made the same deal, but no one's getting mad at her, like what we are seeing here with Lex and Kathy getting mad at Rob. It doesn't help that the conversation ends on a bad note with Rob getting mad at Lex.
And you want to put our friendship on the line, I'll put our friendship on the line over this. The word I gave you was that if I can take care of you, I will. I'm sorry, I cannot.
I was...
And Lex was the name said.
I'm sorry you feel that way. I really, truly am. I'm really sorry that you feel that way.
Kathy is mortified and deeply hurt by all this. She is a friend of Rob. They met on the same season, and now it is affecting her personally.
If Lex got voted out tonight and Boston Rob got away with it? I am not doing that.
At Tribal Council, it is clear by the way that Rob is talking that this is simply a game move, and he is hurt by the idea that Lex and Kathy are taking this personally. It helps show that he isn't a monster, he's just the one actually following through this idea that this is all just a game.
If I'm your friend, I'm your friend. And after this is over, you don't want to be my friend. Friendship is lasting.
When he goes to vote, you can see that he still doesn't want to do it, and he does care about Lex.
Hey buddy, sorry about the vote. Thanks for keeping Amber around. I hope we can get over this mess.
However, Lex is voted out.
Lex, tribe has spoken. It's time for you to go.
It seems like at this point the plan is just to steamroll Mogo Mogo until there's only the Chapera tribe left, which in that case we eliminate in the order of the Onion Alliance. Rob and Amber are sitting pretty if the others don't connect the dots and realize that they need to go. Episode 12 begins with a conversation with Kathy that confirms what Lex had said to Rob previously. Lex thought that once the merge hit that him and Big Tom would just rejoin forces to get to the end. It really isn't a big deal on paper, but to Rob, he frames this to us as a betrayal of his trust, but more more importantly, something he can use against Big Tom later.
Because he had some, he had an arrangement with Tom, and he felt that for some reason you guys had it just by kind of osmosis.
Hey, Tom, you got caught. And your best buddy sold you out.
After a war challenge, everyone gets to see a slice of video from home, and Rob gets a weird one from his brother. However, he does reveal that family is super important to him.
My brother's always been there for me. My whole family, my whole life, always. They're first and foremost in my life. And they always will be.
And Amber gets really emotional when she sees hers.
Hi, Amber. Say hi, Amber. Did we miss you?
Rob wins reward and immunity, and notice that when he does so, Jeff jokes that no one wants to see the whole tape of Rob's brother.
Boom! Come up! Boston Rob wins immunity and a video of his brother that I'm not sure anybody wants to see.
However, Rob wants to trade his tape from home so that everyone can instead get their letters. Jeff takes him up on this offer, and it immediately brings him a lot of goodwill.
Is there any way, if I forego seeing the video, everybody could get their letter?
I can make that trade.
Back at camp, Rob admits, yeah, it is a strategic move, but he has a heart, and he traded the tape to make everyone feel good because you can clearly tell he is still shaken up about the fallout with Lex, but he has not taken his eye off the prize. He wants that $1 million.
I don't remember the last time I was emotional about anything, ever. For me, my family's the most important thing in the world.
We then hear from both Shan and Kathy who say that, yeah, this is nice that he did this for them, but they both know that this is more strategic than anything else.
Probably down deep in his heart, he wanted us all to have the letters, but higher on the list was the fact that it might counterbalance any of that anguish and anger that was exposed yesterday.
Later on in the episode, Kathy wants Amber, Rob, and Jenna Lewis out of power. These are the three she thinks are running the show, so Kathy and Shan work on flipping people like Big Tom and Rupert, albeit with little success. This really shows how strong the bonds are that Amber and Rob have built with the Shapira 6. No one is going to break them apart because they just trust Rob and Amber that much.
I think we got some last minute scrambling going on in Panama today. Kathy and Shan are working it. They'll probably go after Amber or Jenna.
At Tribal Council, when Rob votes, he makes a snide remark about Kathy, which is really kicking someone when they are down. And then, when walking back to sit down, Lex gives him a look, and this is going to be happening pretty much at every tribal.
Kathy, I don't discredit you for trying, but I honestly think I was going to let you win.
However, Kathy is voted out.
Kathy, the tribe has spoken.
Episode 13 starts and there are only 7 players remaining, with one being a former Mogo Mogo in Xi'an, and she is annoyed beyond belief. She paints the former Shapira tribe as smug and horrible people.
The smug, horrible Shapiran superior tribe, pagonging all of us Mogo Mogo members.
They then get tree mail, which contains a massive mask. Big Tom puts it on over his face and tries to make others laugh, and for some reason, we see Rob call him a name. Not only is it clear that what Rob thinks about Tom has turned a corner, but the show making sure to show us this means that his attitude towards Tom is going to be important. At the reward challenge, this is an interesting one as everyone is given a quiz to fill out. Survivor is going to take their answers and the castaways are to guess which answers were the most popular amongst their tribe mates. One of those questions is, who would you trust with your life? And what is the right answer?
Who would you trust with your life? Everybody reveal. The group thought Rob.
When they are all asked who uses sex appeal in the game, Amber is the, well, she's the unanimous choice.
Who uses sex appeal as a weapon? Everybody says Amber, including Amber.
When the question of who is the most honest comes up, Rupert is the right answer. However, Rob is smart and answers himself. This is a pretty subtle move to tell everyone that, hey, you're an honest guy, and you think you're honest too. After all, they just said they do trust you.
Who did the group think was the most honest? Reveal. Amber and Rupert say Rupert. Rob said himself.
Rupert wins the reward challenge, and back at camp, Alicia is upset because she was voted as least deserving to be an all-star, tied with Sheehan, and as someone who thinks they are smarter than they really are. Not monikers that anyone really wants, though Sheehan, who was also voted as least deserving all-star, just shrugs us off and goes, yeah, whatever. However, Rob's attitude about Alicia has not changed, and he makes this known to us.
Since my own tribe mates think I don't deserve to be here, Rob, you're going first.
Her ego took a blow. But, you know, people say things for a reason. So maybe she needs to take a look at herself.
Amber observes that this behavior that Alicia is having by being annoyed at everyone for thinking these things will cause her to be voted out of the game, because no one wants to live with someone who's just mad and annoyed at you all the time.
She's just being a big baby about it. People are observing it. People are getting annoyed with it. People will vote you out sooner because they don't want to live with it.
At the reward, Rupert gets to give out food to everyone on the tribe, ranging from a nice steak dinner to a bowl of rice. Unfortunately, in doing so, he reveals the Alliance of Four and essentially the entire Onion Alliance. Heck, he even gives Rob the second best meal available. But this is not all bad news, as Boston Rob tells us that this means that Rupert must trust Rob and Amber to be doing this.
Basically, Rupert exposed our Alliance of Four. He's kind of sticking it in their face, which kind of shows me that he does trust myself and Amber to a degree.
The next morning, some of the tribe are washing their clothes, so of course Rob and Amber do an impromptu dance. Why not? Sheehan then gets back to work. Her target, Boston Rob. She tries to sway Rupert, but despite knowing his position in the game, Rupert seems unwilling to make a move against Rob.
Oh my gosh.
If I were anyone here,
I've already talked to Jenna about that.
Of
but
course you have.
They're telling me they'll take me to the Final Four too, but I know I'll be fourth. Unless I win immunity.
Rob then talks to Big Tom and paints a picture that Rupert is not to be trusted. After all, let's remember that Rob was voted as the most trustworthy person in the tribe. He actively manipulates what Tom thinks about Rupert by acting as if the second best meal he received was some sort of cover for Rupert's secret intentions, which Rupert doesn't have, and Rob knows this.
I know what people think around the camp. I know, even though Rupert pretends he's all nice. Well, last night he gave me a hamburger. I could read beyond that.
Sheehan has one immunity, which undoubtedly is going to cause drama, as one of the Shapiro Six now has to be voted out. And she talks to Amber about possibly making a move on someone like Boston Rob. I don't know why she thinks Amber would be willing to cut Boston Rob, but that's how good of positions they find themselves in. And Amber tells Sheehan that she trusts Rob, and she knows that if she lies to Rob, he will trust what she says. A little bit too much information just be handing out, but Sheehan then has a ding 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 moment. Amber is running the show behind the scenes, and Rob is the errand boy. Amber is actually the real brains of the operation. Her and Rob are making all these decisions together, but Rob is the one who has to be the bad guy and doing all of the dirty work.
Amber's a deal maker. Such a strategist. Look at her down there. Look at the strategizing going on right now.
She's so sweet. You hate to hate her because she's so lovely and she's got those beautiful green eyes. But you know what? She's one of the shrewdest players out here.
We then cut to Boston Rob reading his letter from home out loud to Amber, where he says if he didn't trust her so much, he would never be reading this to her. The story and edit is confirming exactly what Sheehan has said. Plot twist, Amber's in charge.
Remember, the key to the game is loose lips sink ships.
What?
Honestly, like, if I didn't trust you 100%, I would never let you read this, but you know.
We then hear from Rob about where he currently stands with Amber. He thinks the relationship is real, but he doesn't truly know. He could just be the biggest sucker in Survivor history.
I think it's genuine what's going on. I could be the biggest sucker in history, and if so, hey, she had me fooled.
At Tribal Council, when Rob goes to vote, he breaks his promise to Alicia and votes for her while also making a mean comment about her as well.
Au revoir. Adios. Arrivederci. Sayonara. As we say in Boston, see you later.
The first part of the Onion Alliance is removed as Alicia is voted out.
Alicia, the tribe has spoken.
Episode 14 begins with the family visit, which predictably draws a large emotional response from Amber when she sees her mom.
Amber, here's your mom, Cheryl. Amber, get on that mat.
Big Tom wins the reward and picks Rob to go with him, showing just how close he is to him. This is further emphasized by when on that same reward, Big Tom tells his son that the key to getting him to the final two is Rob taking him there. Rob taking him there over Amber.
The key to the fight Is Rob keeping his lines in place? If Rob will hang in there with me, he will, dude. I think me and Rob might get first and second. That's what we said we was going to do.
On that reward, while Tom is saying that to his son, Rob then crafts a new narrative to his brother about what he did to Lex, where no longer is it that he had to vote out a friend due to a deal he made to save Amber, and it's all just a game move. But instead, he made a deal with a sucker who got snaked for even trusting Rob.
Lex, do me a favor, keep the girl. I'll help you out on the reverse side. Cause all right, so the dumbass actually kept her, and then I snaked him.
Tom and Rob get to bring their family members back to camp with them for a little bit, where we see Tom and his son Bo work very hard and even try some fishing, which is contrasted with Rob and his brother who just sit around and do nothing.
Rob and his brother wouldn't help us get the wood. They didn't get dilly squad.
While fishing, Bo, Tom's son, loses one of these spearheads, but don't worry, they have multiple. Rob then proceeds to call them both the name, which is a bit surprising since Tom is the reason he got reward and they had been so close all season, but clearly finding out that information about Tom from Kathy and Lex has completely turned around his mind on him, and he has to paint every male this season as less than himself.
He did it! He did it! Bo's a bigger dumbass than his dad. I mean, Big Tom's pretty dumb, but Bo is just, he's out there too.
But at Tribal, when voting, Sheehan labels Amber the mastermind, giving her the credit and foreshadowing future events to the audience.
This vote is for you out of respect. You are the mastermind right now. So from one she-devil to another, this is the vote I'm casting tonight.
Sheehan is voted out and the steamrolling of Mogo Mogo is complete.
Sheehan, tribe spoken.
Good luck, everyone.
Episode 15 begins, and the painting of Tom as dumb and annoying continues, as Boss and Rob is simply tired of him at this point.
But you got to get on it, but they invited me to come down. And I went down to eat with them, but I didn't play. Take a little on the side.
Yeah. He makes these unintelligible noises. Nobody understands what he's saying.
Trouble is a-brewing though. While Rupert and Jenna Lewis think they are alone, they talk to each other privately and plot to vote out Rob next if he doesn't have immunity. Rob then catches them in the act of talking about this, which can be blamed on Jenna Lewis for not even seeing him coming, even though she's in the lookout position.
You or I have to win immunity next.
Yes.
When we do, we vote Boston Rob, okay?
I looked over and my heart sank because Rob was standing right there.
And he tells Amber, who asks if he plans on doing anything about this information, to which he says no, he'll just hang on to it.
I just walked up on Jenna and Rupert. They have no intention of going to the final poll with us.
Did you confront him about it?
No.
Are you going to?
No.
Which seems quite mature of him to do, but the bigger point here is that we now know that Rupert and Jenna Lewis are gunning for him at the final 5. At the reward challenge, Boston Rob wins a brand new truck, and Jeff tells him he can pick one person to go with him on the reward, so he picks Amber, which shocks Jeff for some reason.
Gotta be Amber. Second place, and been with me from day one.
So it's Amber and Boston Rob.
But don't worry, Jeff calls shotgun, and he even compliments Rob on his driving. It's a real bromance they have going on.
Nicely done, Mariano. What up? This is a guy who knows his way around a truck.
On that reward, as it turns out, whoever Rob brought along with him would get a car as well. So by osmosis, Amber has won a car too.
Shut up! Are you serious?
Amber. Right here.
No!
Another new car.
They then sit back, cuddle, and watch a movie together as Amber labels this as their first date, and she loves that he didn't get her flowers, he got her a car. They are so in love and it is cute.
On our first date, yeah, we did go to the movies, we did get some popcorn, and he gave me a car instead of flowers.
Well, an unbelievable time, you know that?
Me too.
Back at camp, Amber, without any need to do so, not being required to do this at all, tells everyone willingly that she won a car, and she is so excited about it. This is 100% completely unnecessary information to give out that it can only work against her and Rob in the long run.
I had the choice whether or not to tell people that I had won the car, but I felt that holding that back from them just wasn't me.
This news enrages Rupert and causes some extreme jealousy. It really helps motivate him to work on Big Tom to try and flip on Rob.
They won a car apiece. I saved my candy. Well, it's easy to save your damn candy when you got a belly full. And a new car. Or are you gonna band with me and put Rob out? pick that damn couple and break that couple apart.
Big Tom, though, is stubborn and still thinks his alliance with Rob and Amber is more valuable to him. He will not flip. As Boston Rob and Amber openly flirt and seem to be a little tipsy while doing so, everyone else looks so sullen, which is probably one of the most real scenes in the season, as life is always good for Rob and Amber and not really for anyone else.
How old are you? Are you 18?
I'm a good Catholic girl.
Good Catholic girls, it's pretty sexy though.
The next day, Rob wants to make sure that Tom and Rupert do not work together, so he devises what is a brilliant plan and even better in execution as he lies to Tom like he has been doing all season about Rupert. Tom takes offense and confronts Rupert on this lie.
At this point, there's no guarantee that Tom's gonna stay loyal. I can't trust anybody. So pretty much what I did was I instigated Big Tom to start a fight with Rupert.
But while Rob just stands aside, grinning from ear to ear, Tom and Rupert fight in a way that makes sure that neither of them are going to work with each other because they're both so sour. And they do exactly what Rob wanted them to do, but without really knowing that.
Did you or did you not tell me we needed to get Rob off? You were tired of watching him sit around and you needed to get Rob off and you were sorry you made an alliance with him. Did you not tell me that?
At the immunity challenge, Boston Rob wins immunity and guarantees his safety at this crucial vote.
Boston Rob with all 17 thinks he has the mystery word. Shaboga Mogo. Boston Rob wins immunity.
Prior to tribal, Rob and Amber are in a conundrum. Should they vote out Rupert, who is conniving against them, or Big Tom, who had a secret alliance with Lex that Amber found out about and Rob later confirms? Rob and Amber talk to Tom about whether he has been floating the idea of voting out Rob, which according to Rupert, he has. Tom slips up and says he's the swing vote. Amber says no, he can't be the swing vote if they're in an alliance together. There is no swinging in an alliance. This attacking of Big Tom seems like it is not helpful at first, but by the end, her and Rob both have clearly intimidated him into not flipping on them.
I'm the pawn. I told you I'm the swing vote.
No, you're with us. There is no swing. We're a group. There's no swing.
Because when you tell me, that's what I'm putting on that card.
That's it. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Jenna.
However, this attack, which doesn't reflect poorly on Amber, does hurt Rob and Tom's relationship as he is basically unnecessarily labeling him a liar to his face, which is something Tom takes very personally, as he has stated this season he wants to play this game with class.
Why would you think I won't with Rupert and Jenna?
I don't know. Why you been feeding him stuff for the last 2 weeks telling him you want to get rid of me?
At Tribal Council, Rob says that at the end of the game, it gets dicey. People scramble and lie and even get caught up in those same lies. Lex just keeps negatively reacting to Rob like he has been doing all season since he was been voted out.
You can have some people where the paranoia starts to set in, people start to scramble, people start to get caught in their lies.
When voting, Rob makes a personal attack against Tom.
Pony ride's over. You're welcome for carrying you this far.
They then make the move and vote out Big Tom, which is quite risky, and I'll explain that here in a minute.
Big Tom, the tribe has spoken.
I heard it.
Finale time. It is Rupert versus Jenna versus Boston Rob versus Amber, and Jeff arrives by boat to deliver them some breakfast, which Amber does say is her favorite meal of the day.
Breakfast is my favorite meal of the day. So this meal is huge out here.
But it is crunch time. Two duos are facing off and Rob needs either Jenna or Rupert to flip to make sure there isn't a rock draw that could possibly blow up his game by sending him or Amber home. Him and Amber talk to Jenna Lewis, basically saying, vote with us. You have a chance to beat either of us in the final two, but no one is beating Rupert.
And it's completely up to you, and I'm not gonna try to influence you one way or the other, but all I'm gonna say is you have no chance to beat Rupert.
Which is likely true. If they had voted Rupert at the previous tribal council though, it is likely they could have easily have gotten Big Tom to vote with them to eliminate Jenna, but now they're sweating out over a rock draw that was completely avoidable. Regardless, her and Rob work on Jenna and make her scared of putting her entire game on the fate of a rock.
To me, that's ridiculous.
Because you won't do it against her. That's my point.
There's a possibility I could beat her. There's no possibility I could beat Rupert.
Now I don't know. I'm not letting Rob push me into anything.
We knew it was going to come down to a purple rock, so we gave her the option of voting out Rupert tonight.
I didn't come 37 days to reach into a bag and let a color decide my fate.
At the immunity challenge, Amber pulls out a crucial win, ensuring that even if there is going to be a rock draw, she's safe. But that means Rob is the eligible one to go home between the two of them. At Tribal Council, Amber is doing some jury management, which we don't see much of, if at all, with Rob at any point. She talks about how in the Australian Outback, she was voted out by Colby and was hurt, but later on realized that she had been outplayed by him, and that is what this game is all about, so she votes for him to win. Great speech in front of the jury, and something that Rob is not doing at all, which is understanding how to persuade his jury to like him or even vote for him.
In Australia, I had an alliance, or what I thought was an alliance. But when it came down to it, I actually ended up voting for the person who broke their alliance with me.
Even though this speech by Amber is a complete lie, though I doubt anyone on the jury knows that, Colby never cast one vote against Amber on her first season, and it was actually Tina who did so, and she didn't vote for Tina. So either Amber is implying that Colby did vote against her and she voted for him, or she voted for Tina. But no matter what she's implying, it's all a lie. This is because Amber is the brains of the operation. She's outwitting everyone here. Thankfully for Rob, him and Amber do convince Jenna to make a move and not pull rocks, and Rupert is voted out.
Rupert, the tribe has spoken. It's time for you to go.
Now it is all down to one last immunity challenge, and on the way to it, they have their rites of passage, which has Amber revealing to us that she is proud to have made it to the end, but also feels a bit guilty knowing that she is responsible for a lot of the players being voted out of the game.
Made me feel proud to be standing where I was standing, but also a little guilty knowing that I ended this game for a lot of those people.
At the final 3 immunity challenge, it is the classic hand on a hard idle challenge. Don't move your hand or your foot, or you're done. And what do you know?
Jenna, you lifted your foot.
I lifted my foot?
You lifted your back foot.
But at this point, who cares who wins? Well, actually Amber does, as she tries to convince Rob to drop, which he agrees to.
You've had it a million times. A million times.
Okay.
Jeff then quickly talks Boss Rob out of this idea, and I am not sure why. Amber is running the show, and this move just further proves that. Amber says she just wants to win, and Rob says, well, you'll have to beat me to do so.
You wouldn't want me to just let you win. You'd want to beat me. Right?
I just want to win, honestly.
Well, you're gonna have to beat me then.
However, Boston Rob does win immunity due to a slip up by Amber, and it really doesn't matter, as it is clear as day what will be happening next.
For the last time, immunity. You're going to the final 2?
Before Tribal, Rob floats the idea of maybe taking Jenna Lewis instead, but he knows that this would be stupid for his game in almost every regard, and the jury would not respect him in the least. He then wonders if Amber has actually been conning him this whole time, which is an idea the story has been subtly pushing this whole season, but is a hard one to admit considering how this is all going to end.
But Amber did ride my coattails the entire way. I don't know, maybe she conned me the whole way. Maybe it's the biggest scam in the history of Survivor.
At Tribal Council, Rob talks about how even now, when everything seems to basically be a lock, paranoia is still running rampant. Lex and Sheehan both react negatively to him.
And you can tell, even at this stage, still, there's paranoia. I don't know necessarily that I even have a shot of winning against either of them.
Rob then casts the soul vote, and Jenna is voted out.
Jenna, the tribe has spoken.
Before Tribal Council, we get a montage of Rob and Amber being lovey-dovey. She says he makes her feel happy, safe, important, and proud of who she is.
To be able to spend 39 days now with a person who always makes you happy is just amazing.
In fact, Rob even asks her, what fish would you like to eat? And she tells him, not the black fish, I'd actually prefer more of the blue fish. And what does he get? Exactly what she wants.
The black one or the blue one?
I don't like the black ones.
You don't like the black one?
Well, I mean, not as much.
Oh, last fish. This guy's gonna be the last fish I eat.
But we do hear from her that this is not some long con. Her relationship with Rob is real, and it is exactly what got her this far in the game.
And it turned into something real, and now we have an amazing bond. And I'm so glad that that was my strategy in the beginning.
I'm completely at peace right now, you know that?
Me too. I feel 100% relaxed.
And right before Final Tribal, Rob tells us that he gave 110% every day, no matter what, really putting another notch into the belt for the supposed underdog story.
I did everything I wanted to do out here. I did it to the best of my ability. I gave 110% every single day.
Final Tribal Council, Amber versus Boston Rob. Will the jury recognize and reward how Amber was truly running the show behind the scenes, or will Rob be credited with all of the moves since he was the face of their alliance? Let's find out. For Rob's opening speech, he is pretty solid. Now this is important to note, as once the next juror talks, Rob will tank his entire Final Tribal Council performance, a la Colby Donaldson in the Australian Outback. He is empathetic to how they feel. He explains his approach to the game. He mentions his faults, but says that those faults were unfortunately necessary to get to where he is now. He asks that they all take an honest look at his game and consider all the moves that he made. It isn't really a bad opener at all.
I would like you guys to consider how I play the game as a player, always trying to do well for my team, at the same time trying to look out for myself.
Amber's opening speech leaves a lot to be desired. Usually the opening is a good way to set the tone of how you'll be approaching everyone's questions and to make it clear about what your gameplay's been all season. She essentially asks the jury to not be sore losers and recognizes that it was a lot of luck that got her to the end, not at all owning any of the moves she made in this game.
I think the reason why I'm sitting here right now is luck, all of you guys for not voting me off, and because of my alliance with Rob.
Lex is the first juror and he feels betrayed, which we would have had to have been blind to not see this coming from him. He says that how you play this game is a representation of who you really are. He goes on to say that Rob sold out his friends and character for some money. Clearly this is a lost cause for Rob and Lex, and Lex is going to be voting for Amber. I mean, he doesn't even ask Rob a question, he just lays it into him.
What kind of a friend are you, Rob? What kind of a friend were you to me? You asked me to do you a favor, bro to bro, friend to friend. And I did the only thing I could do. You sold out your values, you sold out your character, and you sold out your friends for a stack of greenbacks.
Kathy is next, and she asks Rob about what he thinks people will think about him after he made all these moves in the game. Rob says Lex has him all sorts of shaken up after he lambasted him, so Rob says he isn't sure about how he feels about his game now. This feels like the wrong move to make from an outside perspective. He should stick to his guns from his opening speech and explain why the moves he made were necessary, why they were the only ones he could make to reach the end, but he has now been rattled and it comes across as weak. But it ultimately has been shown this season that Kathy is more mad at Amber than Rob.
I'm still floored by Alexa's thing right now. Looking back, I'm not 100% sure how I feel about the game anymore.
And she asks Amber if her relationship with Rob is real, which Amber assures her it definitely is.
I will tell you that yes, I have a genuine relationship with Rob, and I definitely hope to continue our relationship afterwards.
However, Kathy's vote seems like it is definitely for Rob, despite how he completely betrayed her and Lex once the merge hit. Now, him and Kathy were both on Marquesas after all, and have been friends for years since that season. I can't fault Amber for not getting her vote. Rupert is third, and he asks Rob, why should Rob get his vote? And Rob nails exactly what Rupert values.
Why should I give you my vote?
Because you're a man of your word. That's why you should give me a vote.
And asks Amber what she did to get to the end. She talks about taking the game day by day, and then at the tribe swap she fought a lot to be saved. She also says she never lost focus, and this is a lame, non-specific answer. It does absolutely nothing to show why she should get anyone's votes.
To get to the final two, I played this game the best way I know how, and honestly that was taking it day by day. And so I guess the main reason why I think I played the game well is that I never lost my focus.
Alicia is fourth, and unlike Rupert, doesn't make Rob feel good at all. She comes in hot and rips Rob a new one. Rob seems weak again as she asks him to give one word to explain how he played, and he says,
competitively.
Excuse me?
Competitively.
He had no chance of getting this vote at this point anyways, due to his own mistake in making a deal with Alicia that he broke. Sheehan is fifth, and she asks each of them to give 3 reasons why the other one should win. This is a very blah question, and it feels pointless as she made it clear earlier this season that she is on board with Amber winning since Sheehan recognizes her as the mastermind. Jenna Lewis is next, and she asks each of them what they're going to do if they win $1 million. Another lame question just like Sheehan's that will undoubtedly not affect any votes. Big Tom is the last juror, and he asks Amber why she should win over Rob. She says, crap, I didn't want to have to answer this question. But essentially she says because she lied to Tom less than Rob. Rob had promised him a final 2 and multiple times throughout the season, including the family visit when Tom was talking to his son. He says that he plans on sitting in the final 2 with Rob, and Amber never promised him anything like that. While not amazing from her, it is actually a reason to vote for her.
We really didn't break our word to each other, whereas you and Rob did. If you're basing your votes on who had a stronger word and who broke their word, I think I didn't really break my word as much to you as Rob did.
But Rob blows this so hard. Instead of treating Tom with respect and giving a good answer, and maybe even an apology, he instead accuses Tom of being a liar, when humility and sucking up to Tom could have easily flipped this vote.
Why should I vote for you and not Amber?
You and I know inside what really happened in terms of who said what and who lied about what.
In other words, you voted me off because I was going to try to kick you off?
You did try to get me kicked off.
Tom, of course, makes Rob feel like an idiot for making Tom feel like an idiot.
I just want to say no hard feelings.
No hard feelings, Tom.
Don't be stupid. I may have failed for 7 once. I failed for it twice. Not this time.
For his closing speech, Rob apologizes to everyone, which would be fine if he didn't continue to back off framing everything as game moves. He really needs to lean in and just paint the picture, which he is great at doing when he's talking to us, as being this was the only moves he could make. He was the underdog and he had to get himself to the end, and this was the only way he could guarantee that. He unequivocally mismanages the jury aside from Rupert. He doesn't understand what to say to each of them. He can't humble himself at all. He doesn't respect the people who need to feel respected the most, and he basically fumbles at the goal line. For someone who knows how to craft a narrative and make us root for him, he fails here in crunch time to craft a narrative, which he seems to be so good at doing. He doesn't understand his own jury despite knowing them in real life outside of the game.
I'm really having a tough time even finding words, to tell you the truth. Fumbling over all my answers.
Amber then closes out Final Tribal by saying how the jury taught her a lot about herself. She feels guilty for a lot of the actions she made in game, and she says she will take what she learned and use it in life. What is most important here though is how she is empathetic towards the jury, and she claims she was honest with all of her answers.
I know it was very hard for you guys all to express your feelings and be completely honest with us. In every answer that I gave tonight, I was completely honest with you.
Normally, I skip ahead to the vote reveal, but let's look at what each juror says in regards to Rob as they vote. Jenna Lewis says that him and Amber both needed to just own their games, and she is right.
I'd like to say that both of you should just step up. Be proud of the way you played. You made it to the final 2. You beat us all.
Alicia burns Rob real good by saying how she promised to never write his name down, and she is keeping that promise.
Do you remember back in the middle of the game and I promised you that I would never write your name down? I'm a woman of my word.
And what is the real kicker? The vote Rob probably could have gotten had he not treated him like such trash on his way out the door and even had been respectful to him at Final Tribal. Big Tom says he feels hurt by Boston Rob.
When you find out the true story, maybe you can call and apologize.
Kathy then votes for Rob, but only because of the friendship they have outside of the game, not because of anything he did this season, which is very telling. It is time to reveal the vote, but before that, Rob has one big question to ask Amber.
I love you with all my heart. Will you marry me?
And the votes are revealed. Kathy, Rupert, and Jenna voted for Rob, while Lex, Alicia, Big Tom, and Cheyenne all vote for Amber, meaning Amber wins 4-3.
The winner of Survivor All-Stars.
That's right, they fell in love on one of the hardest seasons of Survivor ever and prevailed. They did what still no one else has done to this day and found love while on the island while winning it all. Boston Rob and Amber all of a sudden became household names, and their popularity caused CBS to take notice as they gave them a rumored large amount of money to be on their other hit TV show, The Amazing Race. Newly engaged and at the peak of their popularity, how do Boston Rob and Amber fare on a race around the world? This show that we are about to cover takes place 6 months after that engagement and is them still at their peak popularity. Anyways, what you need to know is that they are the only pair of people on this season that has them coming from another show. Everyone else is completely new to reality television. When we first meet Rob and Amber on this season, Rob says that they have a competitive edge and they're in love. Amber says she is looking forward to settling down and having a house and kids, and I think it's pretty clear here who cares about what and who enjoys the spotlight between the two of them.
We have this profound friendship turned into love.
Rob and I are definitely looking forward to life of settling down and having a house and, you know, one day having a family. But right now, we're going to do what we have to do to win.
We end up meeting all 11 teams, and whoever is relevant to this storyline will be talked about when it matters. But for now, let's begin the race.
Go!
And they're off. Their first task is to fly to Lima, Peru, and everyone has to drive to the airport to get on one of 2 flights. Rob and Amber completely fumble this start somehow, as they can't even open the trunk of their car, and it has them beginning the leg in last place.
There it goes. All right, we got it.
I got it.
So far, we're doing good.
Despite this poor start, they're still in good spirits, with Rob joking, saying that, hey, maybe we should just go grab some food while we're at it, and Amber saying, actually, we need to get cracking and lose some weight before the wedding.
I'm starving. Want to get something to eat? How much money do they give us? This is Survivor, you know, you can eat over here.
Yeah, but I'm looking forward to losing some weight. We need to lose some weight.
Rob then tells us that they are winning the $1 million. Losing is not an option. Amber says, but they will have fun while doing so.
We're winning the $1 million. I failed to mention that. We're definitely winning the $1 million.
We're gonna have fun along the way.
Yeah, we're gonna have fun while we win it.
However, due to their slow start, they do get on the second flight regardless. Upon arriving in Peru, they meet a guy at Customs who recognizes them and agrees to help them.
We met this guy while we were at Customs, and he recognized us from Survivor and offered to help us out with what we're doing here today.
With his help, they stay way ahead of everyone else who was on the second flight with them and beats them all to the next clue box easily.
We got all of Peru working for us.
When the other teams talk about Rob and Amber behind their back, not everyone knows who they are, so Patrick decides to inform them all that Rob is dumb as a rock and he can't even barely form sentences. This must be blind hatred for Rob, as this isn't even close to being true, but it does tell us what others are feeling about him.
I've watched Survivor. He's really dumb as a rock.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he can't put a sentence together. Yeah.
However, Rob and Amber's guide is so good that he actually gets them caught up to the first flight, who had an hour and a half lead, and they net one of the 3 spots on the first flight to Cusco, Peru.
Got it. That's it. Oh, we did it.
You'll be flying on a 6 a.m. flight.
As it turns out, Patrick is not alone in his anti-Rob sentiment, as Debbie and Bianca both think that Rob and Amber have no right to be on this race. They have no right to be playing for another $1 million. In fact, they would rather see any other team on the same flight as them except Rob and Amber.
If we had a choice between Amber and Rob or anybody else that was on our flight, we wouldn't have chosen Amber and Rob. They don't need to win again.
Amber then tells us that while everyone is being nice to their face, she has this sinking feeling, this gut feeling that they don't really want them there, despite what they're saying to them. Rob says, well, that sucks to be them then, which is funny depending on your perspective of these two.
You still have this gut feeling that they don't really want us here.
That's just too bad for them, isn't it?
They fly into Cusco, Peru, and get to their next location, which has them ziplining across a gorge. The Amazing Race will do this a lot, where a task is not hard and won't slow anyone down, but it is fun for them to do, and it makes for a fun moment on television. They get their next clue on the zipline, and it has them doing their first detour, and they pick roping a basket instead of roping a llama, and this was definitely the right choice, as they finish that task in first place.
Thank you very much. Make your way to Humbatillo Police Station and ride back in the marked delivery truck to the town of Pisac.
They now have to go to a market to get their next clue, and that requires jumping on the back of one of these trucks that leaves every 20 minutes. They end up getting on the same truck as Susan and Patrick, which is the first truck, whom they make friends with, despite what Patrick said earlier when he called Rob dumb. However, he still wants to personally be responsible for eliminating him.
I didn't know if you guys were going to be nice or not, I have to admit. I thought you were going to be like cutthroat.
We would love to be personally responsible for their disposal.
However, when they all get to the next market together, Susan and Patrick find the clue box first and then help Rob and Amber find that clue box.
Amber!
Baby, come on.
Make your way to the pit stop.
Their clue says race to the pit stop, and hey, they could actually get first place here. However, their taxi driver goes the wrong way, and on top of that, they get stuck behind a vehicle that has completely stalled out. Now Rob does jump out and helps that stalled vehicle move, which is good as no one told him to do so, and he wants to win.
Honey, come on, push this car. Alla derecha. Okay, back in the cab, back in the cab.
We have to hurry.
They finally get to the pit stop, and Phil tells them,
Rob and Amber, you're team number 3.
what a first leg for Rob and Amber. After starting out in last, they raced their way back up to 3rd place and was even in 1st a couple of times. While they did work hard to get there, they got a big boost when arriving in Peru to have a guy who recognized them from Survivor helping them. Now, not every location is going to have someone recognize them, so the big question is, how can they survive on their own without their past fame to help them, or will they flounder under pressure? It is now leg 2, and they have to travel to Arequipa, Peru. Every leg generally starts off with us getting a small glimpse into what each team is thinking as they begin the leg, and here Amber tells us that Rob is the leader on this race, and her job is to mostly talk sense to him and calm him down when he gets too crazy or goes too far.
Rob's definitely the leader of our team. I think he feels comfortable with that. I like to talk some sense into him sometimes, but if he needs to make those important decisions, I just let him do it.
The first bus leaves at 6 a.m. However, Rob and Amber get to working and talk to some locals. They find out that there is another bus that leaves at 7 a.m., but it's faster since it has less stops along the way. They are already hard at work to get a leg up on the other teams, and no one else even knows about this bus, as everyone else has just blindly thought, yeah, we'll all get on the 6 a.m. one together. Another thing to notice is that Rob seems to be very good at knowing enough Spanish to speak to the locals, and the rest of the race he will have put in the legwork to know how to say the things he wants in their native tongue, or he will have written down in their language on a notepad what he wants to communicate to them. It just shows that he's doing work even when the race isn't actually happening.
Un stop. Sí. Es mejor. Gracias.
They keep this awesome bus info to themselves, but they do tell Uchenna and Joyce. However, Lynn and Alex suspect something is up and they go talk to the security guard.
I was getting help from a security guard there, and he says, I'm told I cannot help you. And I said, who? Who told you not to? And he's all, the guy in the cab. So just FYI, don't trust Robin. Yeah.
The Rob father is back. This annoys everyone who didn't know about the faster bus, and now everyone does not trust him, and for good reason. The other teams then try to confront Rob on this, and he lies to their faces while maintaining a straight face of his own and acts very offended that they would even consider him a liar at all. However, the other teams are not buying what Rob is selling here, and it's pretty apparent.
Lying to somebody is completely different.
Tell me what I lied about.
No, I'm not getting
Because there is nothing. Accusing somebody of lying, that's personal.
Let's just say it's a good thing that people can't be voted off.
Every team does get on that faster bus, and it is a large one to boot so it can fit them all. It has doors up front and doors in the back so that people can get on and off pretty easily. Rob teams up with a few other teams to bribe the bus driver to only open the doors near them. What Rob does is he pulls the money from the other teams around him and gives it to the bus driver. However,
what Ray and Gina and Ron don't know is that I never really chipped in my $5. I put it back in my pocket. I'm only using their money to grab it.
When the bus arrives, the people in the back are super annoyed that their doors don't open, but now everyone has to do a roadblock, which is a task that only one racer from each team can perform. They have to shine enough shoes to make a certain amount of money, and Amber elects to do the task and blazes through it pretty quickly, leaving in 2nd place, which nets them tickets on the first flight to Santiago, Chile.
Gracias, gracias. Un sub? Thank you.
They arrive in Santiago and they run into a detour, either buy items from a market or stack books and bring them to a library. They choose to do the books task, and Rob uses his construction background to smartly stack them up and get them all in one trip, which other teams struggle to do in terms of stacking them all without knocking them all over, or they just can't do it all and they gotta do it on multiple trips. Either way, it doesn't matter because Rob and Amber finish the detour in 1st place.
Way to the next pit stop.
They now race to the pit stop and...
Welcome to Santiago de Chile.
Rob and Amber, you're team number 1.
They actually got first on a leg with no help from anyone who recognizes them from the show, which is very impressive.
How are you enjoying the experience?
I think it's awesome. To tell you the truth, I think it's bringing Rob and I closer together. And I'll tell you what, I could never do this without him. I would not be here right now if he wasn't standing with me right now.
The third leg begins, and now they have to drive to Argentina. Rob tells us that on the race you need luck and you have got to take some chances along the way, and he says they are living the American dream. And as I said before, it really feels like they're racing with nothing to lose, and it's kind of hard to not root for them.
Amber and I definitely have luck on our side, but we've been taking a lot of chances. Without taking chances, you really can't have any luck.
However, all teams get equalized since no one can get their cars until 5 a.m., negating the lead Rob and Amber had over everyone. Rob and Amber take the opportunity to stay at a hotel since they have the time, and Debbie and Bianca go there as well. So when Rob and Amber leave, Rob actually fathers the taxi driver into letting him take their taxi from them. He then tries to act like this is revenge for Debbie and Bianca accusing him of lying, which he did actually do.
We're gonna go with you. ¿Cuántos? ¿Cuántos te pagó? Cuatro. Yo pago 10. I don't teach him for accusing somebody of lying.
When everyone finally gets their cars to drive, Rob hits up the police to escort him to where he needs to go so he doesn't get lost.
Can you drive and show me? Best way to get directions in Santiago, get a police escort.
They travel to Argentina and actually arrive at the detour in first place, where they have the option to ride bikes or paddle down a fast-moving river. They pick the river, and along the way we hear how much Lynn and Alex hate them.
Rob and Amber, come on, Alex. Lean forward, lean back. I hate them so much.
But Lynn and Alex are an unreliable source of morality when there are many times this season when they say something that could easily be deemed as racist. Anyways, they finish the detour behind Lynn and Alex, and Amber tells us what motivated her through that 7-mile river course.
The whole entire time I just kept thinking, you're getting in shape, you're getting in shape. You're burning fat calories, you have to get married soon, you have to fit into a dress. Keep rowing. They
then reach a very difficult roadblock and has them needing to eat 4 pounds of meat, of a wide variety of meat on top of that. Rob elects to do it, and Rob is disgusted by some of what he has to consume, and since he wasn't very good at eating gross food on his first season of Survivor, this is classic Rob, nothing new here.
Is it any good, or is it yucky?
I don't want to talk about it.
One team even pukes along the way. That's how much food they're eating. But Rob devises a plan. Like he has all race, Rob is going to think outside of the box on how to win. He decides, I'm going to quit the task and take the 4-hour penalty that comes with not doing it.
What happens if I can't finish?
What happens if you can't? Penalty.
He then decides to father a couple other teams to also quit to guarantee that him and Amber will not be the last to leave the task.
I'm not going to sit here and suffer for another 3 hours. Make these people I quit. I'm done.
2 other teams do take the penalty as well, and this is some next level strategy and manipulation that you almost never see on The Amazing Race.
What I would have to do in order to pull this off is to make other teams realize that there is no way they would be able to complete the task. You're not going to finish.
I know I can't do this. How about you?
I quit already.
I gotta quit eating this.
I'm giving up right now, and I will take my penalty. I'm finished.
The beauty of the plan is that it was foolproof. As soon as I hooked Ray and Dina, I was guaranteed not to be eliminated.
While they do drop to 5th place, they do guarantee that they're not going to be eliminated, and at the pit stop, Phil calls this move unprecedented.
I didn't think I could do it, but I found a way to plot and scheme in The Amazing Race.
It's kind of unprecedented.
As leg 4 begins, Rob says he likes being under pressure. He wants it because it gives him an edge.
I like to be under pressure. It makes me do better. It gives me an edge.
They arrive at the roadblock where they have to ride a horse pretty fast around a course. Rob elects to do it, and he burns through this in 1 shot, which is pretty impressive when you see how many times it takes the other teams to do. Amber comments and says he looks cute on that horse.
Maybe that was easy.
Because I'm a professional horse rider.
You look cute on the horse, babe.
They now have to go to Buenos Aires, and there are 2 flights that are separated by 5 hours to go there. It would be killer to be on that first flight, and Rob and Amber do have a long shot of getting on it though. On the way to the airport, Amber says the other teams would feel terrible if Rob and Amber caught up to them after Rob and Amber took the penalty and all the other teams that are in front of them actually ate the 4 pounds of meat. Rob says, who cares about them? He thinks they are all striving to be like him. Anyways, we then cut to the plane where sure enough the other teams are laughing about how Rob and Amber are going to get what they deserve for not eating the meat and taking the penalty. However, they do finagle their way onto the plane before it closes up, and everyone is deflated. Rob even pokes at Ron when he gets on the plane about eating the meat.
Rob and Amber didn't make it.
I'm so excited they didn't make
Survive that.
No freaking way. That's horse crap.
Run. How's your stomach?
Later on in the leg, Lynn and Alex say they don't talk to Rob and Amber, and they then proceed to compare him to an STD.
Lynn and I just don't talk to Rob and Amber.
The bottom line is they're kind of like an STD. You got to protect yourself from them. And the only way you can do it is just keep yourself away from them.
Rob and Amber arrive at the detour in second place and pick the shipwreck task. This ends up being no problem for them as they blow through it pretty easily, while Lynn and Alex's boat has mechanical issues, and it feels a bit like karma for how they were talking about Rob and Amber earlier.
Hey, it's the old man in the sea. Thanks, buddy.
They race to the pit stop, and Rob says along the way that luck has always been on his side. He is just so cocky this season, love him or hate him.
I'm telling you, we just get lucky. Luck has always been on my side. It was like I was born with a horseshoe. Right up my ass.
They arrive at the pit stop and...
Rob and Amber, you're team number 1.
Good job.
Yeah.
That is now 2 out of the first 4 legs where they have earned first place. They are certainly off to a fast start for sure. Leg 5 begins and they have to fly to Johannesburg, South Africa next. Rob says that he thinks there is a guardian angel looking out for them, which I am not sure how that works for the largest villains of the season who are blatantly lying and deceiving everyone, but there you go. That's his mindset.
There has been guardian angel looking out for Amber and I, because without it, I don't think we'd still be around.
Once again, all of the teams are on the same flight and everyone is equalized yet again. Rob and Amber essentially lose a 6.5-hour lead that they had. When they get to the clue box, they have an option to go for the fast forward, which there are only 2 on the entire race and only 1 team can claim each time there's a fast forward. A fast forward lets a team skip the detour and roadblock tasks and just go straight to the pit stop. They decide, why not? Let's risk it. Let's go for the fast forward. And it is a pretty big risk and it doesn't pay off as they get their second and they can't get the fast forward. Rob asks Amber to make a decision. Maybe this other team will fail at the fast forward task, maybe, but she won't make a decision and she just freezes up on him.
Wanna go? I'm asking you to make a decision. Can you do that? Just tell me yes or no.
They do end up leaving to go to the detour, and along the way they stop by a hospital to get directions, and as it turns out there are quite a few people at the hospital who do recognize them and wants to talk to them, not realizing that Rob and Amber just need to go, and Rob makes a joke about this.
I'm gonna go to the hospital.
Yeah.
I figure why not? A little psychiatric evaluation. I mean, we probably need it at this point.
They do finish the detour task where they have to give the right items to the right tribe members, and they leave in 5th place after blowing through it pretty easily, but they have now dropped 4 places from how they started this leg. At the roadblock, they have to buy 5 designated items for a local orphanage, and this is made easy when someone actually recognizes Amber from Survivor and helps her complete it very quickly.
I'm so excited. Thank you very much.
Orlando's Children's Home. Okay, you're coming with me.
They race to the pit stop and...
Rob and Amber, you're team number 5.
As they start leg 6, Amber's pretty sure the gut feeling she had earlier in the season, before about all the other teams not liking them, is basically a fact now. Rob says he doesn't think they're getting any Christmas cards.
Up until this point, I think the other teams have kind of been not too fond of me and Rob.
Needless to say, I don't think we're going to be getting any Christmas cards from these people.
Next, everyone has to go to the Lion and Rhino Reserve, and there are 2 shuttles for all the teams to ride and to feed the animals. They have to get on the second one due to how they started the leg, which is no fault to anything they've done this leg. And at the reserve, Meredith and Gretchen are begging for money. Since they finished last in the previous leg and were penalized since it was a non-elimination leg, they had to lose everything and basically start with just the clothes on their back. Most of the other teams are giving them $5 each, except for Rob and Amber. Rob labels both of them as con artists, which is him just painting a narrative that is not true at all. And he does try to do it again later on in the season, claiming that they are faking injuries that are very much real.
We're starting the Save the Rhino Fund, and that's no lying.
I'm not giving them any money. They're the biggest con artists going.
After the Lion and Rhino Reserve, they mindlessly follow the other teams to the airport and actually end up going the wrong way, which causes them to be on the second flight.
Where the airport is this way?
We have to turn around and go back.
Get out of here. Are you serious?
They fly to Botswana, and after arriving, Rob tries to get into Lynn and Alex's taxi, but they say no, acting as if there is not enough room for Rob and Amber, which is a lie considering that two teams earlier in the episode shared a taxi. However, this is what happens when you make enemies with other teams, but Rob and Amber would have done the exact same thing to Lynn and Alex, despite how Rob tries to play the victim here.
Dude, there's not enough seats.
There's plenty of room, bro.
No, there really isn't.
Plenty of room. Is this a bus?
No, it's a taxi.
Is this a bus?
Rob then says that Lynn and Alex have their heads up their butt and he is done being nice, but this has to be a joke because we have yet to see him be nice to anyone but Amber.
He might be able to run Alex like a little farm boy, but he can't treat everybody like that. I'm done being nice. I mean, it's getting to be crunch time now. There's 6 teams left.
The roadblock is all about spear throwing, so Rob elects to do it. Now, he doesn't do too well, though, and Amber says he typically loses his patience pretty quickly. Rob continues to get frustrated and acts like maybe he was given defective equipment, blaming the equipment and not himself for his failure.
You shopping these things or what?
He loses patience pretty quickly.
But he does eventually get it, and they leave the roadblock in last place. Rob is on a warpath now and drives so aggressively while also talking trash that he actually passes multiple teams on the road and even sees one team flip their vehicle. Now, he doesn't see the vehicle flip in the middle of it happening. He just passes by after they've already flipped their vehicle, and they did wreck themselves, and to be fair, they are just fine. And he just says that he doesn't want anyone hurt, but this is a race and he isn't stopping.
Oh, car flipped over. This is a competition, but we don't want anybody to get hurt. You know, that's not fun for anybody.
This angers Lynn and Alex, who aren't even the ones who got in the wreck, but felt compelled to pull over.
That was Rob and Amber, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
That's just so typical of their game.
There was no way we're stopping. Well, it's still a competition. Let's not get crazy.
This aggressiveness, combined with not caring about the car wreck like many other teams do, gets them back up to second place, and they blow through their detour task of sucking up water from a spring and filling up ostrich eggs to finish the detour in second place. They race to the pit stop, barely trailing one other team, and...
Rob and Amber, you're team number 2.
Leg 7 begins, and they need to travel to Sankuyo Village, which is 141 miles away. They get there, and they have a detour, which they pick the easier task of milking a goat. It is now time to introduce another team that matters for the remainder of the story, Ron and Kelly, who are also jerks to each other, though. Almost all race due to both parties being at fault. It's really annoying to watch. Unlike Ron and Kelly, though, Rob and Amber are shown to be kind, loving, and supportive, and this contrast happens a lot for the rest of the season.
Do you want me to squeeze?
It isn't going to help for you to squeeze because I know how to do this.
Ron's being the drill sergeant.
You're doing so good, baby. Want me to hold the cup?
Yeah, you hold the cup.
It's okay, baby. You're doing awesome.
They finish the detour in second, and at the roadblock, Rob elects to do it. He has to drive a truck while removing trees on a path. It's pretty easy for pretty much every team, but he is just that much better at it, and they finish the roadblock in first place. In what has by far been the calmest, most drama-free episode for Rob and Amber so far, they race to the pit stop, and...
Rob and Amber, you're team number 1.
Good job, baby.
That is their third first place finish so far, and they are steamrolling the competition. Leg 8 begins, and they now need to fly to India, and at the tiny airport in Francistown, him and Ron actually work together on getting faster tickets to India, while all the other teams are outside on the phone and just chilling. While getting these faster tickets, the receptionist lady does want to know what she should say to the other teams if they ask for the same thing, and Rob does his usual Rob father thing.
No, please, tell them that you can't do it at this time. Tell them if they say why not, just point to me. And don't worry about it.
Now, even though Ron and Kelly just got massive help from Rob and Amber, they decide to trash talk them and say that Rob and Amber are just, oh, so manipulative.
Nobody really likes Rob and Amber.
Yeah. They're definitely manipulative as anyone I've ever met in my entire life. And they kind of cut it off and quit talking to them.
They arrive in India with Ron and Kelly on the first flight ahead of everyone else. Notice how Ron and Kelly didn't tell everyone else about this flight. And when they arrive at the palace, Rob remarks how it was built for a guy's girlfriend. And he says, imagine if he did the same for Amber, but better.
Some guy built this for his girlfriend.
Or for himself.
Imagine if I built you a place. Twice as nice.
They then have to travel to a steel emporium, and it is time for a roadblock, which requires them to search 600 tin boxes for a clue. Amber elects to do it, and Lady Luck is on her side as she quickly crushes it.
Baby, you got it?
Yeah. Travel by cycle rickshaw to the area of Ash Eva.
They then travel to the detour and they choose to deliver tea to 5 businessmen that they have written on a list. It goes seemingly without a hitch for them, though Rob does get confused on the last businessman due to a barrier of communication, and when he figures out what is going on, he Rob fathers the businessman.
Who's a Sharpie? Are you a Sharpie or are you?
He is a Sharpie.
You. Give him the tea.
Thank you.
Thanks, buddy. Don't try to pull a fast one like that again.
They then race to the mat where Phil is, and
You guys probably think this is the end of the leg?
But
I don't want to hold you up. I have your other clue. You're still racing. This leg is not over.
if this had been an official pit stop, and it should have been, but we'll explain in a second why it's not, this would have been their 4th first place finish. Leg 8 continues and they have to board a train to get their next clue. Everyone gets on the same train that night without knowing where they are going or how long it will take to get there. Now everyone does get their clue at 1 a.m. and it turns out this is a 24-hour train ride, which helps explain why there was no pit stop when they have that long time to rest on the train. They just chill and relax, with Ron and Kelly saying that Rob is actually really humorous and Amber is very sweet. After that long and arduous ride, they finally arrive and they have to first go to a clock tower to get their next clue. And guess what? That clock tower isn't open until 10 a.m., which is about 12 hours after they get there, which means for 36 hours, these teams are not really racing at all. Rob and Amber decide to go get a hotel room, and while he's there, he finds someone, to be exact, the manager of the hotel, who speaks English pretty well, and that manager agrees to help Rob and Amber for the entire leg free of charge.
How much would it cost for you to take me around and show me?
free of charge.
Free of charge. I need a guide tomorrow.
Finally, they get to the detour and they pick the physical task of moving large elephant statues. Their guide from the hotel is a huge help with this, and while employing help from the locals as well for his task, Rob says, "Hey people who are helping me for free, no coffee breaks here," which feels like a callback to All Stars when he said Sesternino was on a never-ending coffee break.
What's the wheel? What's the wheel? Come on now, let's go!
I'm holding the elephant's tail.
No coffee break here!
They finished the detour in 2nd place, which is great considering everyone started it at the same time this leg. The roadblock has them racing a camel cart around a track twice, and this one's really up to the camel to do the work. Amber elects to do it, and the camel gives Amber a hard time a lot. And right before it crosses the finish line to end the detour, it decides, nah, I'm taking a coffee break, which is not Amber's fault, and it's kind of funny, but it does hurt them finishing the task.
Go! We need to go! Go, go, go! No!
Oh God, please no.
Jeez Louise!
They do eventually finish the roadblock though behind Ron and Kelly, so they don't do too bad, but on the way to the pit stop, their driver has to get gas, and it is a foot race to the pit stop, and
Ron and Kelly, Rob and Amber, your team's number 2 and 3.
the only reason they got 3rd and not 2nd is because Uchenna and Joyce used the fast forward on this leg. So we move on to leg 9, where they now have to travel to Istanbul, Turkey, not Constantinople. Despite it being late at night, Rob and Amber go to a 24-hour travel agent in an attempt to try and get on an earlier flight, but it doesn't matter as everyone gets on the same flight. At the airport, Rob then needlessly tries to mess with Meredith and Gretchen by asking them if they got on the earlier flight. He has no idea that there is an actual earlier flight though, he just thinks he's messing with them.
You know what I said to her? You got on the earlier flight to Turkey. Just a little bit of fear in her. What are they talking about?
This needling of Meredith and Gretchen actually causes Uchenna and Joyce along with them to see if there really is an earlier flight, and maybe Rob is onto something. And what do you know? There is. And they all get on it, while Rob and Amber along with Ron and Kelly are stuck on the 2nd later flight. All because Rob was being cocky. What is even worse about Rob's cockiness here is that Ron and Kelly actually mentioned that, hey, we think we overheard Uchenna actually mentioning that there is an earlier flight, but Rob dismisses it since he doesn't view Uchenna and Joyce as threats.
What was that airline, the 330 that we were
I thought he said Turkish Airlines.
Who said that, Uchenna? Oh yeah, he has no clue what he's talking about.
They arrive at the airport and Rob's cocky attitude basically says that the other teams are like the blind leading the blind. They're probably behind them. Meanwhile, their flight left hours before Rob's and he calls them stupid, but really, he's the stupid one here, as he still has no idea that they are ahead of him. Now their next task has them going to a lighthouse to find a gnome, and on the boat ride to the lighthouse, they talk to someone who works on the boat, and they are informed that actually Uchenna and Joyce and Meredith and Gretchen have already come through and done the task about 2 hours before them. Rob feels like an idiot.
How many teams come so far? Oh my God. 2 teams already? Damn.
They get their gnome from the lighthouse, and at the detour they can pick between doing an uber complicated task that involves reading a map, getting numbers from 4 of 200 plus columns, pulling up a chest, putting in those numbers into the chest hoping that they got them in the right order, or they can simply weigh a bunch of people till they hit a designated number and they pick that much easier task and easily finish it, while Ron and Kelly pick the complicated task for some reason.
Where are you, babe?
2585.
Okay, let's go. So we got more than enough.
Yeah.
The roadblock they need to do now involves climbing and storming a fortress, and it isn't a real struggle for any team, but Rob elects to do it, and while doing it, Ron and Kelly catch up. However, they get tripped up on finding the key, meaning Ron and Kelly, and Rob helps him and Amber maintain their 3rd place position out of the roadblock. They race to the pit stop and...
Rob and Amber, you're team number 3. It's very close competition. You can see Ron over there on the other tower.
It's a non-elimination leg though, so everyone is still racing, and leg 10 launches with them flying to London, England, and having to go to Abbey Road for their next clue. While other teams settle for a direct flight to London, which sounds the fastest, it turns out that there is a faster flight, and Rob and Amber work their butt off to find that flight, and it involves connecting flights instead, leaving earlier, connecting to another flight, and then connecting to London, and gets them there an hour and a half ahead of everyone. Surprisingly, after finding this better flight, Amber is the one who Rob fathers the person to not help any other team, and Rob backs her up. He really is rubbing off on her.
Don't let anybody else use the internet.
Please, nobody else. You understand?
Thank you. Yes.
After arriving in London, they find themselves a local who agrees to take them wherever they need to go and help them with any task that they have. This seems to be a specialty of theirs in a bunch of locations, and it really pays off here as they get to the detour where they can either solve a series of riddles or move some boats. Since their guide knows London super well, they pick the riddles task, and along the way, Amber dresses up and pretends to be Sherlock Holmes.
You're screwing around. Hey, give it back. I think everything's gonna be over here in the bag.
We're good.
Because of the guide they enlisted, they crush this task pretty easily and end up at the home of Sherlock Holmes in 1st place, which I actually think is a super cool location, and I kind of want to visit it now.
Thanks. Give him the card, too. All right, thank you. Your next clue is at the Millennium Dome.
They go to the Millennium Dome, where the final opportunity to yield another team this race is at, and they choose to yield Ron and Kelly, who finagled their way onto the Rob and Amber flight. So this seems a bit baffling as the other 2 teams are at least an hour and a half behind them, so why not yield one of them instead? It is only going to annoy Ron and Kelly, and it's not going to eliminate them either. The roadblock has them driving a double-decker bus through a marked course, and this is not an easy task to accomplish, but since Amber can't drive a manual, Rob has to do it. He does end up completing it in 4 tries, and surprisingly does this before any other team shows up, including Ron and Kelly. When Ron and Kelly arrive and see that they are yielded, they draw on Rob and Amber's picture like children to paint them as the devil.
The devil made me do it.
They race to the pit stop and...
Rob and Amber, you are team number 1.
Yeah!
That is their 4th official 1st place finish, and 5 if you count the unofficial leg where it just kept continuing, and they have now secured themselves a spot in the finale. Will they be able to capitalize on their luck and aggressive gameplay to win it all? Let's find out. Finale time. It is Uchenna and Joyce versus Ron and Kelly versus Rob and Amber. The pressure is on, and before leg 11 starts, Rob asks, hey, who here is going to be 2nd place? And Joyce says he will be.
Which of you 2 teams are going to finish 2nd? All right.
You are.
They need to go to Kingston, Jamaica, and Rob says that after winning Survivor, which is a very liberal view on his game, to be clear, Amber won and he got 2nd, he says there's no reason that they shouldn't end up on top.
There's no reason why we shouldn't win again. So just write the check.
But all of the teams are equalized yet again as they all get on the same flight, and in Jamaica, they hit the roadblock. They each need to do the limbo, which Amber elects to do, and what makes this limbo special though is that the lower she can go, the better the time they get for leaving the beach the next morning.
Come on, you got it. That's it. That's it. That's it. Yeah!
The next morning they have a detour and they get to pick between either building a raft or going down the stream on a raft for 8 miles, and that would have been a slow ride. So they smartly pick the building a raft, and every team makes the same decision as them. Plus, Rob has built a bamboo raft on Survivor All-Star, so this is nothing new. But Rob does cut his finger open while building it, so Amber gets him gloves and says to wear them, and Rob says no because he's being prideful.
Cut my finger open.
Put gloves gloves on, please.
The gloves are fine. I don't need the gloves.
This next moment is not something I am 100% sure I want to interpret, but I feel like it needs to be included as it is so out of place from the rest of the season.
I do whatever I can to make you happy.
That's my girl.
And then after the race, you can make me happy.
They finished the detour in first, and the race of the pit stop is insane. Pretty much every team is neck and neck. Now they are currently ahead of everyone, but it's not by much. On the way to the pit stop, their driver has to get gas, which sucks. But Ron and Kelly's driver also has to get gas. But Rob and Amber get stopped by the police for a routine check, which sucks even harder. But crazily enough, Uchenna and Joyce get a flat tire along the way, opening the door to a comeback. At the pit stop, Phil tells them,
Rob and Amber, you're team number 2. Woo! What a race!
It is time for the final leg of the race, and what is the insane task that they must do to kick it all off? They need to chop 50 onions into tiny pieces. It's a real tearjerker. But what is nice is that as the leg starts, you can tell these two are happily in love with each other.
Couldn't be happier. We really have been working together perfectly.
Amber's been the most amazing partner anybody could ever have.
They get to the onion chopping task in first, and while doing it, Rob makes a joke.
I'm very fast. When I was a kid, my mother used to put me in the basement and make me chop onions.
Whatever.
They then have a detour which involves either riding a horse or hitting a golf ball into a small green area. Rob obviously picks golf. As anyone who saw him on Survivor All-Stars knows, he loves it. They finish the detour fast and race out of there in first place.
That might be it. I'm on.
Everyone now has to fly to Puerto Rico, and Rob and Amber get the first flight out, with Ron and Kelly leaving Uchenna and Joyce in their dust. But when they get to their destination, it doesn't matter, as the next place they have to go to is closed until the morning. So all of the teams are equalized one last time.
7:30 to 4? What are we supposed to do?
There's a hotel right at the top of the hill. We should go get that well-needed rest.
When it opens up in the morning, they find out it is a roadblock, and Amber has to jump off a bridge and swim to shore. Somehow, while the other two teams do this with no problem, she gets lost along the way, and they fall to last place.
Come on, baby! Fly to your final destination city, Miami, Florida.
Their clue says it is time for their final destination, Miami, Florida. Rob's heavy foot has them racing past the other teams on their way to the airport, and when they arrive, they get the same tickets as Uchenna and Joyce, who get an 11:15 a.m. flight. However, $1 million is on the line here, and being tied isn't good enough for Rob, so he does his usual thing of working his butt off to get his way onto an earlier flight, which they do just that and get on a 10 a.m. flight instead. Uchenna and Joyce try to get on the same flight as Rob and Amber once they find out that, sure enough, they're on it, but the airline literally closes multiple doors and says no, there's no more boarding. But for some reason, the receptionist calls the pilot and he says yes to them being able to board, aka Rob and Amber now have competition in the States and they don't have an hour and 15-minute lead anymore.
This sucks.
Upon arriving in Miami, they have to find a cigar shop for the next clue, but their taxi driver sucks and they can't seem to find anyone who can help them find this place, as they keep getting bad directions. They do finally get there, but they get there in second place.
You have the clue, please? Thank you. Let's go. Okay, buddy.
However, there is hope. Uchenna and Joyce are at the final pit stop, but they need to pay their taxi driver, and since they have literally $0, Rob and Amber race them to the finish line, and
Rob and Amber, you are the second team to arrive. Thank you.
What an incredible race, and despite coming in second, Rob has some nice words to end the season on.
We finished second, but I wouldn't change a thing. I got Amber, so I'm in first place in my book.
I love you.
I love you.
Yeah, they almost did it again, dominating a season of The Amazing Race like they did in All-Stars, but this time a stroke of luck for Uchenna and Joyce robbed them of a victory. Unlike in All-Stars though, Amber let Boston Rob run loose and played an overly aggressive game that had him doing some things no one else had ever done in the history of the race, and actually caused the show to change some rules afterwards. They were pretty game-changing for The Amazing Race. But then the big event finally happened. Rob and Amber were getting married, and what do you know, CBS was making their wedding into a 2-hour television event called Rob and Amber Get Married, which takes place 11 months after Rob proposed at the finale of Survivor All-Stars. So in this special, they supposedly only have 4 weeks to plan their wedding, as if they haven't been doing any planning whatsoever before. Doubtful, but let's accept it and move on. Oprah's party planner is the one helping them as they are getting married at the Atlantis Resort in the Bahamas. Very fancy. However, the planner is obviously gay, and I'm only saying this because Rob brings it up multiple times.
So my first reaction with Colin is, Colin and I probably wouldn't be going to the same bar, if you know what I mean.
Pertinent information, of course. Amber picks someone from her hometown in Pennsylvania to make her wedding dress, which does not please the wedding planner at all, as he would rather her choose a big shot designer instead. But Amber does have a big bridal shower, and Rob says, I will be fashionably late, so I'm only there for the gift opening part, and then he goes out four-wheeling in the snow. However, he takes way too long, longer than he expected, and misses the opening of the gifts and knows one surefire way to get back in Amber's good graces.
I got my insurance policy under my right arm, in the form of a dozen pink roses. Flowers will keep her from getting mad.
Him and Amber get dance lessons, but Boston Rob hates this so much that when the dance instructor's like, hey, you're gonna need more lessons, he just straight up says no, and that's it. But that is because he is so busy with the house he is surprising Amber with in Florida. His dad built it, and he is going to furnish it and paint it. Pretty big task. Amber, on the other hand, is going to surprise him with an awesome gift that has an artist named Giovanni painting this Red Sox mural of the World Series winning team. But even better is how she's taking it to spring training to get the Red Sox to actually sign it.
Signing my painting? Sure. Thank you. You can just sign like in the puddle somewhere maybe. Right on the butt.
Right on my butt.
So the special is crazy in the amount of traveling that takes place in 4 weeks. They literally go to the Bahamas, New York City, Boston, Beaver, Pennsylvania, Los Angeles, and Florida, all in 4 weeks, multiple times, with the exception of LA, which only happens one time. It's a bit out of hand. Anyways, while in New York, the wedding planner is helping Rob find some exceptional clothes for him to wear, and Rob says that Amber told me no jackets. I don't think I can wear one of those at the ceremony. But the wedding planner's like, I'll call her to double check. And she says, no, that's fine. Jackets are good. Which impresses Rob how the planner was able to flip Amber on that.
You'd be good on Survivor, by the way. That was nice. I like Colin. Like, I don't like him. Like, you know what I'm saying.
So get this, for some reason, to furnish their house in Florida, Rob is getting all of the furniture from Los Angeles. CBS must have given them a nice check because this is a pretty penny to not only fly out there, but to pick out the furniture and then have it shipped to Florida. Insane. However, the day before the wedding, there is one last celebration. Rob gives Amber some real diamond earrings since she is frugal and would never buy any for herself, whereas she gives him the signed painting and he actually cries. But you may be asking, when is he going to reveal this house to her? Well, Rob pre-recorded a tape of him showing off the house, and when he presents the kitchen, I want to show this one part as not only is Amber blown away, but it is very much foreshadowing their life before they knew it.
Over here, we have our own kitchen table. So now I can make you dinner, sit down, and have an awesome meal. Someday, we'll fill the other chairs up with the family.
Their wedding is of course beautiful, as there is a touching speech to open the ceremony, and while Rob and Amber both write their own vows, Amber's is the one I think is the sweetest of the two.
I want you to know that even though this wedding has turned out to be more than I ever dreamed, it would not be perfect without you standing here in front of me today. You are what matters most. Today I stand here telling you that I am yours. My heart is filled with love for you and our future together. I promise to be patient and giving, understanding and truthful, and dedicated to your every need. I promise to always be there with you to laugh or even cry, and to learn and grow old. Thank you for making my fairy tale wedding come true. And by that I mean, thank you for giving me you.
Mr. and Mrs. Mariano. Amber and Rob, you may kiss.
But funnily enough, maybe they shouldn't have skipped dance lessons, because at the reception they both say, yeah, we forgot everything we learned and we did terrible.
Our first dance, we were just way too nervous. The thing is,
Didn't feel right.
the dance lessons pretty much went out the door after
Out the window.
So the wedding special is really the cap on Rob and Amber when they were at their peak popularity. But we aren't done with their story yet, because while the general public may have been ready to move on at that point, they were still pretty popular. So a year and a half into their marriage, Fox, of all the networks, because so far they've only been on CBS, offered them a reality series called Rob and Amber Against the Odds. And while I struggle to find more than one episode to watch online, it's pretty clear from this one episode what this show is all about. It's about nothing. And I don't mean nothing like Seinfeld, where it's funny, but nothing, meaning Rob wants to learn how to play poker and Amber wants to live a happily married life. But then she's like at the gym working out with the trainer and she calls him hot, and it's like a little flirtatious, but the show's about her and Rob being married. It feels weird, like the final seasons of The Office, and having no weight to the show just doesn't help.
Rick and I decided to go out and put in a little time on the putting green.
So what are we playing for here?
20 bucks a hole, push as a carryover. I don't want to take your money. I feel bad. I want something more. I want something that's going to excite me a little bit.
However, there is one moment on the show that is pure gold, and that is when Amber is like, hey Rob, let's stay in for the night and we can work on making some babies. And here's that clip.
I'm gonna go off a little bit.
I haven't seen you all day. Don't you want to spend some time in our new place?
Yeah, but I kinda wanna play poker.
We don't even have Sports Center. I gotta find out who won the game.
I'm not enough entertainment for you.
Maybe they'll try to compete with the Red Sox.
Ultimately, the show tanked and was pulled off the air after only one season, and from what I can see, it makes complete sense. Fox really didn't know what to do with them and really just want to put them in a show thinking that their names would probably carry it and make people watch. Really, Rob and Amber are probably best on CBS, and that's where we're going to see them for the rest of this video. So thankfully, after the highly entertaining run on The Amazing Race 7, they are asked back for the All-Stars edition of the show, as this is going to be something worth watching, unlike Against the Odds. The Amazing Race 11 starts in Miami, Florida, a very close location to the finish line from season 7, which Rob and Amber infamously and controversially lost. Here we find them having gotten married on an hour-and-a-half long CBS special that I mentioned earlier, all about their life and their wedding. But that doesn't mean they have calmed down in how they will play, as Rob and Amber say.
The first time we did the race, we came in second place. This time, whole new bag of tricks.
The other teams will be trying our old tricks. We were like, that's old news. We got some new stuff for you.
See what I've created. I love you.
So what tricks do they have up their sleeves? We will soon find out. Their first destination has them flying to Ecuador.
The world is waiting for you. Good luck. Travel safe. Go!
And on the way to the airport, they drive very aggressively to slide into first place. Rob says, hey, last time we settled for second, but that ain't happening this time.
Amber and I did not drag our asses back for the Amazing Race All-Stars to finish in second place. Mark my words.
In a strange twist of actions based on what we have seen of Rob previously, he gets on the airport shuttle and actually tells the driver, and you may not believe this, to open the doors for another team, Danny and Oswald. Has he gotten soft?
Hurry,
Close the
please.
thing, close the thing. Go quick, please. Wait! Okay, stop. Let him in. It's the first kind gesture I have made, so I want it noted. It killed me to do it too.
Rob and Amber do get on the first flight, and while waiting for their flight, they stop into the airport's bookstore to read up on Ecuador. While in there doing that, another racing team, Dave and Mary, introduce themselves and basically fanboy over them.
We're their fans. For us, just to meet them, you know.
We've already won.
Yeah.
Upon arriving in Ecuador, it's the middle of the night, so they are racing to a local restaurant to get departing times for the next morning. Teams will either get 7 a.m., 7:15 a.m. or 7:30 a.m. as their departing time. Rob and Amber take full advantage of their first flight by nabbing a 7 a.m. departure time the next morning, but then it all starts up for the other teams as we hear from them about the threat that is Rob and Amber and how they are target number 1.
We've known of Rob and Amber because obviously, you know, we live on this planet.
Rob and Amber are really fierce competitors, so they're really a team to beat.
I've had enough of Rob and Amber. I think that America may have also.
That isn't good in case something like a yield is put into play. For now, they're safe, and while eating at the restaurant, Rob says, let me tell you all something, it really hurts me to not see the other teams here yet. But the sarcasm is strong with this one.
The fact that the other teams aren't here, my heart is bleeding. It really is.
We'll give them all big hugs when they get here. here.
The next morning, they have to drive to a national park, and on the way there, Rob hires a taxi driver to lead them to their destination, and upon arriving first at that national park, they run into a detour, which is something that they must perform to proceed, and they get an option between two different tasks. In this case, they can either choose to wrangle it or recover it. Recover it requires them walking around this massive field, finding all the pieces to a uniform, which they choose since Rob says animals are unpredictable, and that is a good rule of thumb on The Amazing Race typically. But after what seems like forever for them, they do end up switching detours since they are having a hard time finding much of anything, and the wrangling ends up being a lot easier than previously thought, as they have to simply trim some hooves and cut some hair on a horse. They do this and finish it in first.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Gracias. Make your way to the next pit stop.
With 10 teams hot on their trail, they race to the pit stop, and
You guys are team number 1. Congratulations.
that is it for the premiere of The Amazing Race 11, and once again we see complete dominance from Rob and Amber despite being the biggest targets on the board. They have not executed any deliciously evil plans yet, but they do say they plan on doing so, and hey, their track record proves that they are going to do it. Despite this being 2 years later from the last time they played, watching this right after season 7 feels like almost no time has passed at all, and it is quite fun as a result, so let's see if this high continues. Leg 2 begins with the teams being tasked with flying to Chile. Rob says that this time he doesn't want the other teams to be afraid of him and Amber, but instead he just wants their minds preoccupied with what him and Amber are constantly up to.
The other teams have no idea what they're in for. I don't even want them to be afraid of us. I want them to be preoccupied with us because it distracts them from what they should be doing.
Rob and Amber net tickets on the first flight out and tell the lady who sold them the tickets not to tell anyone else. This is a classic move that they do pretty much everywhere. Danny and Oswald are the only other ones lucky enough to get the same ticket, but it ends up hurting them both as the flight gets delayed, and they are both solidly in last place as a result.
Within a period of 10 minutes, you can go from being in first place to last place. A miserable game, this race.
Upon arriving in Chile, they run into their first roadblock. This is a task that only one member on the team can perform, and this roadblock has them solving a word puzzle / search to figure out their next destination. Amber's the one who does it for their team, and she works with Oswald, something you would probably not see Rob do unless it just benefited him. Anyways, she finishes the task and they move up to 7th place, which is much better than 10th, which is last. They then have to catch a domestic flight to another part of the country, and at the airport, Eric sees a new line opening up and takes advantage, getting ahead of Rob, who then tries to blow up Eric's spot.
All of a sudden, a new gate agent comes. Eric went from the back of the line to the new counter.
Just get behind me. Any of you have done the same thing. Don't say you wouldn't, because I really will.
I don't really have anything personal against Eric, and I was just trying to stir the pot up.
What's funny here is that Rob would have done the exact same thing as Eric had he been on top of his game. However, Amber pretty quickly shuts this down, and this is real progress for her, as we've seen her be a counterbalance for Rob on Survivor, but she pretty much let him run free last time on The Amazing Race, which is how we got such a wildly messy game last time. This time she is making him get his act together again, and it annoys him somewhat.
It's not that I don't mind Rob stirring trouble, but it was so wrong, it made him look silly.
On top of that, what Rob was attempting to do wouldn't have mattered anyways, as everyone gets on the same flight together, and upon arriving they run into another detour. This time they either need to do a job by hand or a job by machine. Since Rob has a background in construction, he picks the machine, and this helps them breeze through and moves them back up to first place.
Ready? Drive yourself to the Valley of the...
It is now a race to the pit stop as they have to drive through the Valley of the Dead, and when they see Phil...
Rob and Amber?
Yes?
You're team number 1.
Do our dance!
That is now back-to-back first place finishes, and for context, in season 7 they only won 4 legs. Having already done this twice in this season really sets them up well, especially since it's only been 2 legs so far. Leg 3 begins with them staying in Chile and reiterating that they don't care about the other teams.
Get in.
Okay. I don't care if the other racers like us or don't like us.
I could care less.
They then need to catch a domestic flight to another part of the country, and on their way to the airport they ask some locals to help them at an internet cafe to find good tickets. this ends up working out incredibly well as they do get on the first flight out. Upon arriving, they then run into a roadblock, which once again Amber elects to do, and basically she needs to move enough fish from one breeding tank to another to find a clue about where their next destination is. While some of the other teams freak out about the fish, Amber keeps a cool head and just dominates. However, Eric, that same guy who cut the line back at the airport, is making some slightly inappropriate remarks about his partner, which then leads us to Rob giving us his 2 cents about this.
Hustle up, Dan. Come on, get your boots.
He was constantly making comments about her breasts. Not to say I wasn't making comments about Amber. Amber, you look like a fisherwoman.
That's what I am. I'm a fisherwoman.
They're different types of comments.
Amber proceeds to finish the roadblock in 3rd place, and afterwards, Rob works with Eric and Danielle to get to the detour. He says he doesn't mind working with them since he says he can beat them any day of the week, which is super ironic if you know how the season ends.
Eric and Danielle against Amber and I, any day of the week, we're the odds-on favorite.
At the detour, they have the options of vertical limit, which would require them rock climbing to get their clue, or doing a river rafting adventure with 2 guides helping them. They obviously pick the one that has people literally helping them, and this rockets them back up to 1st place.
Find your next pit stop.
They then race to the pit stop, and can they do it? Can they win 3 legs in a row and tie the record that many great teams have done before them?
Rob and Amber, once again, you are team number 1.
It is time, leg 4. Can Rob and Amber get first one more time and set the amazing race record for consecutive 1st place finishes at pit stops? Well, right away they learn that for some reason they're still going to stay in Chile yet again, and Rob tells us, hey, he isn't arrogant or cocky, he just believes his team is the best. Amber says they may have reached their peak.
I think that Rob and I have great communication skills. I almost feel that we're peaking. Well,
I'm not peaking. I'm not even close to my prime.
So yeah, Rob is still cocky. I mean, it was proven in the last 3 episodes, but he's out of his mind if he thinks he's not. We then finally hear from Uchenna and Joyce about their rivalry with Rob and Amber. These 2 teams had a wild, controversial finish in season 7 that I am surprised took this long to bring up in this season. But anyways, Rob and Amber get tickets on the first flight out and scout out where they are going online. We then hear from Dustin and Candace how Rob and Amber are still the team to beat.
So I couldn't even give you an assessment on them, except for they're fast and they've won 3 legs in a row. Rob and Amber are the team to beat.
After the flight, Rob says Uchenna and Joyce have no idea where they're going or what's going on, which is kind of similar to what he said about them in season 7. He sounds salty, and apparently on the flight, Uchenna had the stewardess write down some useful information for him about their destination, and Boston Rob steals it.
This is a little note that the stewardess gave me when I came out of the bathroom. Apparently Uchenna was trying to get information on where the boat was. What can I say? She handed over the directions right to me. Thanks, Uchenna.
The stewardess was writing down this information for me, and Rob comes in and steals it.
At the detour, they either need to navigate to their next clue with a compass or build a sign that lists a series of locations in order while making sure to spell the names of these places correctly. Rob picks the sign since he says he has building experience, and this ends up being a massive mistake as it is not only the slower task by far, but he misspells Philippines with 2 L's instead of 1, a common mistake. After a long time, Amber tries to talk Rob into switching detours and he keeps resisting. They do end up swapping after many failed attempts, with them never learning why they keep being told no. And on the navigation detour, they do this pretty easily and fall to 6th place.
Okay.
Get a taxi. Take a charter plane
to the city of Ushuaia, Argentina.
They finally now get to leave the country for Argentina, and they end up on the 2nd flight, which is a solid 3 hours behind the first. At the airport, Rob tries and pretends that he isn't really bothered by this fall from the top, but Amber's like, no. Don't lie, fess up.
He's full of crap. He wants to finish first. I know he does. Because he's deeply upset that we're not in the first plane. And it just makes me mad because he lies. Admit that you want to be in first.
I want to be in first.
They arrive in Argentina, and somehow all the other teams nab taxis, whereas Rob and Amber, along with Charlotte and Myrna, are left with nothing. Charlotte and Myrna make a phone call to the taxi company to get a ride, and when it shows up, Rob and Amber successfully steal it.
You're crazy. Amber, get in the car.
Amigo, teléfono, taxi.
phone. You're crazy. We called too. They're out of their minds if they thought I was getting out.
Later on, Charlotte and Myrna catch up to them while looking for the clue, and you may be surprised to hear this, but Amber is actually the one that lies and bamboozles them.
Did you find it? Got it. They actually believed me, telling them that the clue was down there. I mean, that's just dumb.
And that isn't even the only time she does it, as they then confront her about this lie. And once again, she lies again about the lie, like Rob has been training her for years to do.
I didn't talk to you guys, I was talking to him. I was saying I got it, I figured it out, it's at the next one. Meanwhile, I totally said I got it when I ran by them, just to make them think I had the clue.
See, I told you, I'm rubbing off on her.
They then have to navigate a roadblock with only Uchenna and Joyce along with Charlotte and Myrna to beat to not get eliminated at the pit stop, though it could be a non-elimination leg, we don't know yet. You can throw winning a 4th leg in a row though out the window. The roadblock has them sifting through a bunch of mail to find the one letter that is addressed to them from a team who was on their previous season. Charlotte and Myrna help each other, which Rob calls out as cheating, and he is right, but production doesn't do anything to back him up, and then Charlotte and Myrna blow up on him.
Hey, look at those 2 white ones in front.
Can't talk to her.
You know what? Shut the hell up. I said pray to our deceased grandmother to help us. I wouldn't have a clue what that means.
Eventually, after all the other teams are gone, Rob finds the letter, and it is from Susan and Patrick, who basically wish ill will against Rob and Amber in the race, and it's pretty funny.
Hopefully this letter finds you broke, lost, hungry, in last place. This is just insulting.
However, this leg could very well be a non-elimination. There are usually 3 random legs a season this happens on, so when they reach Phil...
Rob and Amber, you're the last team to arrive. I'm sorry to tell you have been eliminated from the race.
From first to worst in one leg. What a crash and burn, which sucks considering how they were killing it in the last 3 legs and on their previous season. However, their final words are fairly sweet.
You know, this isn't the end. It might be the end of the race for us, but the fact that we got to come back and do it a second time is pretty spectacular. We did really, really well in the first 3 legs. And just to spend this time with each other means the world to me.
What a high-powered run on the Amazing Race that ended far too soon. They were straight up dominating until that unlucky leg. 3 straight first place finishes, and a misspelling on that one challenge really set them back. While it was very suspicious how they lost the Amazing Race 7, here it is 100% on them for losing this time. What a shame. So seeing as this is a Rob and Amber centric video, I am not going to flesh out what happens when either of them are doing something separate from the other one, because Rob's solo adventures weren't full-fledged Rob Father videos. But Rob finally goes back to play on Survivor's 20th season, Heroes vs. Villains. At this point, Amber and him have been married for over 4 years now, but only he is asked back to play, not Amber. He approaches this season attempting to change the narrative surrounding him being a cutthroat villain, especially since he was cast on the villain's tribe, to which he says, hey, that's all just a matter of perspective.
I'm a villain? Well, it's all in perspective, I guess. It's how you see it.
Which is true for the most part. Heroes and villains on the show comes down to the storytelling and our own personal perspectives on life. But while on this season, he does realize he will have to lead the tribe he is on if they're going to succeed, because they're kind of a mess. And he remembers an important lesson Amber taught him.
There's nobody here that wants to do anything. They don't want to build a shelter. They don't want to try to get a fire going. It's not that they don't know what to do. They've all played Survivor before. And it's like ripping at my every fiber. My wife told me have patience. Amber, I'm trying.
By the time we get to episode 6, things have been going pretty well as the leader of the villains, especially with Russell, Hans, Parvati, and Danielle at the bottom. Rob says, hey, we have the majority. Let's just split the votes so we guarantee one of them goes home. And for some reason, Tyson is on a whole different mindset.
I feel like 50 Parvati can vote Russell. No, we need to split the vote. I'm telling you, if we vote 3 and 3 and there's a tie, then there's a revote. That means either one of those 2 are going home. We can't lose. You can't lose that way. This other way, it's too risky.
I show that because Tyson ends up doing his own thing. While everyone else does what they were supposed to, Tyson was a key part, and he ends up getting voted out of the game. But with him getting voted out of the game, he essentially tanks Rob's game as a result. After being portrayed as a newly reformed hero all season, Rob is voted out in the pre-merge.
Rob, the tribe has spoken.
However, the show loved the rivalry Rob and Russell had on Heroes vs. Villains, so they made season 22 of Survivor all about that. Survivor Redemption Island has Rob playing for a 4th time, only 1 year later after Heroes vs. Villains, and this time he's gonna play the most cutthroat game you've ever seen. A true Rob father. Basically, he snipes anyone who poses even the smallest of a threat to him, and he especially hones in on any duos, since he knows how powerful that can be.
And if she can have her little puppy dog along for the ride, she's gonna walk them. She's gonna walk them all over this island. And for me, that's not good, because I know how strong a pair can be in this game, like Amber and I.
Once his tribe reaches the merge, he implements this thing called the buddy system that has Rob at his all-time peak when it comes to controlling everyone and everything in the game. He's going to make sure no one has any room to maneuver, and he will drag goats to the end so that no one else will be able to upset him at the end of the game. He is so powerful that he even has the idol and straight up doesn't care about any more clues existing.
It really doesn't even matter what it says, because I already have the idol. So might as well just throw it away in the volcano.
Near the end of the season, things seem to be working out in his favor so far, but he knows his butt is on the line as players see an opportunity to eliminate him because he is a massive jury threat. At one point, he's even wearing a shirt that has a photo of Amber and his firstborn child on his back during a challenge, and this moment happens.
Rob struggling to get up these steps. He is literally carrying his family on his back.
Jeff really knows how to hype up Rob as he wins immunity after immunity, securing his place in the final 3 with an emotional final challenge win.
It was Amber that encouraged me to come back and try again. She believes in it. It's because of her.
Despite being ripped apart by the jury, they have no choice but to respect how he controlled the game, despite it being no fun for them. So when the votes are revealed to win it all,
first vote, Rob. Philip. Rob. 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 The winner of Survivor Redemption Island. Rob.
After winning it all, finally, Rob goes on to write a book about his strategies for life, but otherwise we don't really see him at all in the public eye, but he does go on to have 4 kids with Amber, and he gets really into playing poker with other famous Survivor players, like this moment.
That being said, if we all find ourselves on the island together, we're definitely going to be the power
right behind Kim's open.
But other than that, all is calm on the Boston Rob and Amber front. That is until the finale of season 38, when Jeff reveals that season 39 of Survivor will feature Boston Rob and Sandra as the 2 figureheads of the season. It doesn't feature him playing, but it does feature him mentoring players and sitting in a secret booth at Tribal where he makes funny comments with Sandra. It's a fun, stress-free role that makes for an interesting part of the season, though they do try to imply that he's building like this massive shelter all by himself. I don't buy it, but it is fun for him.
There's always a twist. What these guys don't know is that Sandra and I are actually out here to show the new kids how it's done. Survivor School is in session.
It can be debated that actually this twist on the season hurt many players' games, as we see them getting screwed right after or because of Island of the Idols. But that blame is not for Rob, but instead the show itself for how they designed it. There's at least one player who credits Rob for getting her to the finale though.
Any chance to be around Rob and Sandra as a gift, because the lesson that they gave me has helped me make the final 5, but in my heart of hearts, I always knew I'd be here.
But this next chapter is the Juggernaut, Winners at War. Rob and Amber play together again finally on Survivor's 40th season, which as the name implies, has a cast of all winners. It is epic, and here we can once again fully dive into their story just like in All Stars, and both appearances on The Amazing Race, since they are very much intertwined here. However, as I said before, this is not a replacement for a future Rob Father video, so don't view it as that. Think of this as more focused on them as a couple rather than every character moment and strategic move like we will do in a separate Rob Father video. But season 40 begins with Amber saying, "Finally, I'm back, and I'm here to kick Rob's butt one more time."
I was a kid the first time I played the game. Little did I know that I was gonna fall in love, meet my husband, get engaged at the finale, win the show. But now to be asked back for season 40, all winners, I wanna win the game. To come out here and win 2 times and beat my husband again,
That would be awesome.
Sandra says she also wants to kick Rob's butt, but it's not in the same fun spirit that Amber is saying this, since Sandra feels betrayed that Rob never told her on season 39 that he will be on season 40. She feels lied to. But they all arrive on the sand spit where Jeff is overwhelmed with joy to see them all, but what he really enjoys more is comparing some of the older winners to Apple products, like with Amber.
You first played 20 years ago. Little perspective, not only had the iPhone not been invented, iTunes didn't exist, Twitter, Facebook, Xbox.
There are lots of twists this season. Fire tokens that players can use to buy food, tarps, or even advantages in the game. Every player begins with one fire token, but they can be gained throughout the game doing various different things. The Edge of Extinction is an island where when you are voted off, you live at it until one of 2 challenges happens to get back in the game. And of course, the prize money is increased for the first time ever. Amber is on the red Dakal tribe, while Rob is on the blue Sele tribe. Right away, there is an immunity challenge where tribe members fight for a life ring that they bring back to their post to score a point. And while Dakal pretty much dominates every round of this game, there is one time Sele scores a point. But on the final round, Dakal secures their win on the backs of 2 women, one of them being Amber. Both tribes head off to their respective camps, and we see Amber connecting with Tyson and Sarah over how they are parents now, and it is especially hard to leave her 4 daughters at home, which she of course didn't do the last time she played.
I did not think I'd see you out here.
Really?
Well, I mean, you got 4 little ones at home.
No.
But no.
It was an easy decision.
Yeah.
But it wasn't easy.
Hard to leave.
I got them all calendars so they can cross off the
I did the
days.
same thing.
Meanwhile, over at the Sele camp, scrambling is happening right away, since they have to go to tribal first, and Rob says it sucks that everyone saw that massive statue of him from season 39, which does get mentioned multiple times this season by different players, because it puts an even bigger target on his back than he already had. Amber is back on Dakal feeling way out of the loop. She has not played this game since season 8, which predates idols and any advantages, so she isn't sure when the right time is to go looking for them and how long to look for them. But even more emotional for her is thinking about Rob's tribe losing immunity.
I had a hard time at the first challenge. I was rooting for my team. I'm gonna get emotional. But it was hard to root against my husband. I'm his biggest fan. I feel like people think we have this huge advantage because we're out here together. But I feel like it's probably more a disadvantage than it is an advantage. But I learned a lot from my husband. This game never stops.
However, Rob is hard at work forming an old school alliance with Ethan and Parvati, the latter of course being his enemy in Heroes vs. Villains, but here they are close. But then Danny proposes the idea to vote out Rob first since he is such a big target. Not great, and it is exactly what him and Amber feared, but his name isn't the Rob father for no reason, as he intimidates Ben into giving him all the information he knows.
I've heard yours. Who said my name? You're not gonna tell me? That's like getting off on the wrong foot, Ben.
No.
Like, why are you not trusting?
No, I'm trying to remember who said it. First
Come on.
It was one of the girls.
See this right now, while you're not telling me, kind of make me feel like I can't trust you, bro.
Danny.
Danny threw out my name? Why? What she said?
Because you're bossing Rob.
What she said?
God, you did it.
I'm just asking
Right?
you what you said, man. What you said.
You played 4 or 5 times, Rob.
Rob then approaches Danny and says, "What the heck? Why are you throwing my name out there?" And she caves, but does it much smarter than Ben by saying she was simply talking through all of the options, and of course, Rob is one of them. He appreciates this honesty and lets her live. For now. Now that statue of Rob is not the only reason he's a big target in this season, as obviously having his wife Amber out there is a great asset, since everyone saw All Stars and how those two dominated that season, along with 2 times on The Amazing Race in a ruthless fashion. Adam is frustrated anyone views him as a target when there are clearly bigger threats out there.
They should be way more worried about Rob and Amber's marriage.
At Tribal Council, Adam once again tries to deflect any target that's on him back to Rob due to his marriage, and Rob says, "Hey, we are all winners, we're all targets here." The Tribal Council goes Rob's way, and Natalie Anderson is voted out in a 7-2 to 1 vote.
Natalie,
The tribe has spoken.
This episode is a double header, so we move on to Decall, where Sandra says simply the sight of Amber every day drives her up the wall because it reminds her how much Boston Rob lied to her on season 39, and she's not sure why she's taking it so personally, but it really hurts her because he could have told her and he had no reason not to. Back at Soleil, Ben and Michelle realize that maybe voting out Natalie was a mistake because it plays right into Rob's hands, since him and Parvati seem to be running the show at their camp. This is put on the back burner though as Soleil wins immunity, but with that comes Amber's tribe having to go to tribal, which Rob doesn't like at all.
Winning the challenge, it's a great moment. But in the back of my head, I'm worried about having my wife on the other tribe. Amber has a huge target on her because of me. I can't do anything to help her. So in this moment, this is possibly my wife's life in this game.
At the Decall camp, just as feared, Amber is proposed to be voted out by Nick, but Amber says, let's get out Nick instead. It is unclear why these two are at odds, but we do hear from Yule the strong sentiment amongst everyone that the fear of Rob and Amber running this game again, like they did in All-Stars, lives rent-free in everyone's heads.
I think basically the single biggest fear that everyone has in the game is that Rob and Amber are going to dominate.
At Tribal Council, Jeff once again brings up how long ago Amber played the game, and Amber tries to pin Tony with a target on his back for playing like a madman. But Sandra says Tony is fine. In fact, everyone expects that of Tony. It is Amber who can't keep up with the modern game. Everyone goes to vote, and as it turns out, Amber is gone in a 6-3-1 vote.
Amber, the tribe has spoken.
Episode 2 begins with Amber on the edge of extinction, and she says she is glad it is there so that her being voted out of the game doesn't feel like a complete waste of time. Over at Soleil, Rob sees that he has a fire token in his bag, which he assumes is from Amber, but he isn't 100% sure, but he tells Parvati and she's like, yeah, it probably is Amber.
Just the thought of Amber being on the edge of extinction, it kills me. It was really, really, really hard for us to leave the kids. I know that that's weighing on her.
At the immunity challenge, his fears are confirmed as he sees Amber is not on the Decall tribe, and the visual reaction on his face says more than any words ever could. But clearly he is shaken up and it affects him, and his puzzle prowess is at an all-time low in this challenge, as his strategy on how to solve this puzzle is very much ineffective and he loses immunity for the tribe. Back at camp, Danny talks to Rob and she says she feels on the outs, but she would like to target Parvati, and he says yes to her face, but then to us he says she's crazy, Parvati's his #1 ally that's still in the game. So Rob then proposes voting out Danny instead, which no one on the tribe argues against. At Tribal Council, idol paranoia is real. Everyone knows that somewhere on their beach was probably an idol and someone probably has it. We know that Denise has it, but no one else knows that. So Rob has everyone empty out their bags in front of everyone just to see if he can suss it out.
Who has the idol? I think we should find out who has the idol. Okay, let's do it. Let's all open our bags. And let's see who has the idol.
He doesn't find out about Denise's idol since she stays fairly quiet while Adam talks non-stop in defense of why they're even doing this. But then they all go to vote and Danny is eliminated in an 8-1 vote.
Danny, the tribe has spoken.
Episode 3 starts with Adam saying Boston Rob feels the need to be in control, and whether this is true or not, the perception of Boston Rob coming off of his past seasons is wreaking havoc on his game here. So the new schoolers have the idea to cut the legs from underneath Rob by voting out those who are associated with him, in this case Parvati and Ethan. They think by doing this they will be forcing him to work with them instead, since he will have no other option. It is not made clear why they don't want to vote him out instead and take those associated with him as allies, but I digress. But Rob can save his friends if he can win immunity. So what happens? Back at camp, Adam tries his patented complete honesty approach to make Rob trust him and ally with him. He says, we're voting out Parvati. Are you in? Rob says yes to his face, but just like with Danny, he says, what is this dude, crazy? I'm not voting out Parvati, she's my #1. Rob takes this information and approaches Jeremy and Michelle with it. While they never clearly confirm that Rob is right to his face, they do say right afterwards to their other alliance members that, hey, Adam gave Rob all of our information. But then we hear that they still don't want to vote Rob out, they want to knock out Ethan instead. At Tribal Council, Ethan is indeed blindsided in heartbreaking fashion in a 4-3-1 vote that has Adam as the lone vote for Parvati.
Ethan, the tribe has spoken.
Episode 4 sees those on the edge of extinction, mainly for this story's purpose, Amber, being tasked with going up the mountain 20 times and carrying a log back down each time before sunset. If she does this, she gets a fire token. This is an incredibly hard task that rivals the most brutal challenges the show has ever made players do, even causing Ethan to pass out and have medical come examine him and fix him up. It's a really scary moment. However, Amber does finish the task, and for her, this was one of the hardest things she has ever done. Since Ethan collapsed and is clearly struggling mentally, emotionally, and physically, Amber and the other members of the Edge join him on his final leg to encourage him to finish, and once again, this is a big emotional moment.
I all of a sudden realized the bond that we've created in this very short time. Woo! It's strong, and I felt it at that moment, and it felt good.
That was something I remember for the rest of my life.
Back at the Soleil camp, Michelle Fitzgerald is talking with Boston Rob about how her family really didn't want her playing again since last time there was such a large reaction to her beating Aubrey, who was the fan favorite of Michelle's season. Here's what Boston Rob says about that.
Well, my win was super controversial.
Let me tell you something. If you win, you win.
Yeah.
The end.
With Ethan and Danny gone, Rob only has Parvati left, and he feels powerless and hates it. He is not a great underdog player. Rob succeeds when he gets a lead because he knows how to keep it. But with him flipping on Adam in the last episode, Adam feels burned by Rob and now won't tell him anything. But Rob's like, I don't actually need Adam to tell me anything. At this point, I can just make something up and say that Adam said it because they'll probably believe me. At the immunity challenge, Rob's butt is on the line and he knows it. Soleil, however, falls way behind and is clearly going to lose. The puzzle they have to do at the end is from David versus Goliath, and the guy who won this exact challenge in that season was Nick, who is doing the puzzle for Dakal. Things look bleak, but due to some incredible work by Rob and Michelle, the next episode starts off with a twist. Tribe swap time. Except we're expanding from 2 tribes to 3. The only other time Rob has swapped tribes in his past seasons was in Marquesas, which put him on a tribe where he didn't have the numbers and had him getting into fights to attempt to gain control, but ultimately failing. It's very entertaining though. And in All-Stars, where that weird swap happened and he had to make a deal to save Amber and basically burned Lex, Kathy, and Jerry. I'm sure you remember that from earlier in the video. So swaps, historically, aren't a good thing for him. However, he is on the new Green Yara tribe. He is with Ben, Adam, Sarah, and Sophie. Adam doesn't trust Rob for the obvious reasons. Ben literally says that he hates Boston Rob as such an alpha male, and Sarah and Sophie are from Dakal, so they're just fighting for their life. Things are not in his favor. However, this new beach probably has an idol that no one has found yet, and he knows this. At the immunity challenge, Soleil takes the lead, but for some reason, Rob isn't on the puzzle. To be fair, he isn't the same guy who dominates these puzzles anymore like he did in the past. However, Soleil loses their sizable lead, and in fact, straight up loses the immunity challenge. I don't think Rob would have blown that lead, but he isn't too worried about it.
Look, it's never good to lose immunity on Survivor. I hate to lose, but in retrospect, it's not that big of a deal. Because we got expendable members here. We got people that we can get rid of, preserve our overall numbers. All we gotta do is decide which of them is headed home.
Back at camp, Adam and Ben lie and say, yeah, we're totally down to vote out Sarah, but then Rob whips out his tried and true buddy system from Redemption Island on a bunch of winners, thinking this will work.
They're gonna run off and try to have conversations, unless we go back to camp, we sit at camp together, the 3 of us, the whole friggin' time, and nobody goes off and has any conversations with anyone else.
There is no trust between the 3 of us, and yet here we are saying that we have to maintain trust. And Rob's way of making sure that we maintain that trust is by having nobody leave camp all day.
Sarah and Sophie hate this, and they say Rob just brings a negative energy to the camp. To be fair, he has pretty much been like this since Marquesas when things aren't going his way, but at Tribal Council, it happens. Rob is eliminated in a 4-1 vote.
Rob, the tribe has spoken.
However, he is now reunited with Amber on the edge of extinction, which is nice. But the game really slows down for the 2 of them as they're just waiting for their chance to re-enter the game, which Rob has a great chance of doing. Episode 7 sees Parvati and Sandra arrive on the edge, and if you saw Sandra get duped by Denise in this season, then you know that play by her was completely out of character. Well, when she tells them all what happened, both Rob and Amber get onto her like, what the heck, that was a rookie move. We expect more from you, Sandra.
Why not just figure out who to vote for yourself instead of giving her all that power?
Yeah, that's very unlikely unlike you to give somebody that much
You
power.
let her decide your fate in the game?
They're right, you know. Anyways, everyone is later surprised with the task that says somewhere on this island are 4 fire tokens underneath rocks. We pretty much have this challenge narrated by Tyson, who finds one of the tokens and says he beat Boston Rob up the mountain because Rob is a portly chap. But then no one else could find the other 3 tokens. As it turns out though, Rob found the other 3 tokens when no one else was looking, and now he is loaded, but he may be hyping himself up a bit too much here.
3 out of 4. We're in the majors. I'm batting 750. I'm the best it's ever played.
It is now episode 8 and the player's first chance to re-enter the game takes place. Rob uses his tokens to buy an idol, which is only good if he gets back in the game, and Amber gifts her 1 token to Rob so he can buy an advantage in the challenge. She just really wants to support him and help him get back in. At the challenge, Jeff asks about the edge and how hard it has been. Rob says, let's face it, everyone who's been voted out is an old schooler. This is not a coincidence, don't act like it is, which all the new schoolers do. There's nothing romantic about being on the edge, he says. So the challenge takes place and the advantage certainly helps Rob and a few others who are able to buy it as they take the lead. But eventually it all comes down to him and Tyson for who can drop the ball in the hole first, and they are close, within inches of each other, and... Unfortunately, Rob did not win and get back in, but neither did Amber, but she wasn't even close. Both of them will get one more shot later in the season. Episode 10 brings with it the family visit for those in the game, but the players on the edge are also surprised because they also get to see their families as well, which is a pleasant surprise for them, including Rob and Amber's 4 girls.
When my parents play the game, it means a lot to me because it's really special. I see my mom and dad, I'm going to tell them I love them, and I miss them, and I'm happy I get to see them right now.
It's our families! What the hell?
You bring family members here? It's like you never knew we were suffering ever. Everybody's so happy, everybody has energy. Nobody's thinking about hunger. Nobody's thinking about anything else. Like we've escaped for a few moments. And we're as happy as can be.
After that touching encounter, Rob and Amber are overjoyed that their 4 girls got to see them on the island doing what made them meet and fall in love for the first time. 2 episodes later, another task is given to all the Edge players: collect 20 coconuts and bring them back to the shelter. This is very similar to the log challenge earlier in the season, but thankfully there's no running up and down the mountain. However, the first 6 who get this task done will be getting 2 fire tokens each. Rob takes off way too fast for his age and build, but he tries selling this as, I can beat them all, but then later kind of retracts that and says maybe setting the pace isn't my best option. Along the way on this race, this happens.
I slipped and fell and cracked my elbow.
Rob injures himself, but definitely sells it as being way more dramatic than it really is. However, neither him nor Amber finish in the top 6, and despite that, Rob still perseveres to finish the task. This is hard for Amber to watch.
I said I wasn't gonna care if I didn't win, you know, but I do. I felt like it was important for me to finish. I didn't want to feel like I was quitting.
It was hard to see him still going to get those coconuts well after it was finished. That shows you that he's not a quitter and that he's gonna keep on fighting.
In episode 13, it is now their final day on the edge of extinction, and Amber says, yeah, being here for a month sucks, but in a weird way, she'll miss it. It made life simple again.
As much as I hate this place, I'm sort of gonna miss it. Even though my husband is here, thank God he's here. It's a weird way to force yourself to sit down and just think about life. But I think what I'm gonna miss about here is the simplicity of it all. But that's a blessing. You don't get to do that at home.
It is now the finale of the season, and the final challenge to re-enter the game is taking place. Rob nor Amber could afford to buy any advantages, which hurts because Natalie has 3 advantages. That's right, 3. Putting them at a great disadvantage. This of course goes exactly as you expect hearing that, as Natalie re-enters the game on the back of those 3 advantages, and Rob and Amber are officially done and on the jury, which is a first for Rob. Jeff then talks to each of the winners one last time, and Amber says she only played this season for Rob.
I didn't come here for me. I only came here for one person, and I came here for him. I wanted to be here for him. I wanted to be his rock. I never thought I had a chance in hell to win this time around, because even when you read my name as the All-Star winner, I knew that nobody really felt like I deserved it. Everybody felt that this guy deserved it, and the only reason why they voted for me is because they hated him more than they hated me.
But if there's any lesson I want to take away from this, we came out here to show our kids. You try, you don't quit, you don't give up, and you do your best. And their mother's the toughest woman in this world. She stayed out there that whole time, made rice for everybody every single day, never complained. This is a woman that's a champion.
It's amazing how Amber, even with that $1 million check and fame that she earned, still is hurt by those thinking she never deserved the win on All Stars. She definitely earned it though. With them now out of the game, they can spend some quality time at Ponderosa, which is the place the jury lives at while the game is taking place. And thankfully, Survivor makes videos of this experience for us to enjoy. We get reflections from everyone mere minutes after losing that final challenge, and Rob says he always wants Amber to be by his side.
I know that Amber is someone I can always count on, and when the going get tough, I want her by my side always, because I know she always will have my back and vice versa.
We're not against each other, we're for each other.
Amber says later on that all the weight Rob lost has him looking hot, like he did on All Stars. Now typically at Ponderosa, everyone rooms with someone else of the same sex, but Rob and Amber are a special case since obviously they're married. And Amber jokes, I wasn't going to room with Rob, but of course I guess I have to. We then see Rob and Ethan, who have become great friends at this point, connecting over him being fat.
20 hours later, and I've already gained 9.5 pounds back. 9.6 to be exact.
I've gained 6.8 pounds in 24 hours.
My man, catch up. Yeah. I'm still the leader in the clubhouse.
You're my inspiration to gain more weight.
You'll get there.
Someday I hope I can look obese like you.
Follow my lead. Follow my lead, skinny boy.
We then hear from Amber a little insight into how Rob is at home, and I am betting he didn't want this kind of personal information being known to the world, but hey, it's too late.
I really want Rob to experience his first pedicure. At home, he's always asking me to rub his feet. The girls are always rubbing his feet. I'm sure the person here can do a much better job than me and the girls, but he won't do it. He's such a chicken.
It's 10 a.m. It's lunchtime.
Amber then tells us how after Rob went on Heroes vs. Villains, he became great friends with Tyson, who Amber didn't like at all and thought was a jerk. But she says she admits that Tyson in person is much better than Tyson on TV, and says for once, Rob was right. There is also a Ponderosa video where Rob and Amber reflect back on All Stars and how they met. However, we have already covered that extensively, so we won't be covering it again, but it is cool they had a whole video dedicated to it. So once again, after Winners at War, we don't really hear from Boston Rob and Amber, but this time he actually does become active on Instagram, showing him cooking, his kids being cute, and how they do things together as a family. He does end up releasing a cookbook sharing a bunch of his recipes, along with how to make his infamous crispy rice. But then late in 2021, a new show airs called Secret Celebrity Renovation, where Boston Rob stars in the finale to renovate his parents' kitchen and back porch. It's a fun watch, but it does include some real cheesiness, like Rob making a fire Survivor style for the newly installed pizza oven, and even threatening to vote the lady who's helping him off the show.
Sabrina.
I said it was mine.
Somebody might get voted off, and if you don't get in line, it might be you.
Yeah, it's really cheesy, but it is worth watching one time. The best part is how at the end we meet his parents along with Amber and their 4 girls showing up, and them all getting together to share a meal, just like he talked about in the wedding special where he said,
"The only thing that would make this outdoor space better is if these chairs were filled up with family."
Over here, we have our own kitchen table. So now I can make you dinner, sit down, and have an awesome meal. Someday, we'll fill the other chairs up with the family.
Everybody's gonna be coming to our house now, just like they were before. It's party time.
Come on, let's have some pizza.
I am sure this is not the last time we will see Boston Rob and Amber on television. Surely another show will feature them at some point. Heck, one or even both of them might even make a final return to Survivor if there ever is an all-time legend season. But for now, this is where they are. Married for over 17 years with 4 kids, living in Florida. There was one part of the wedding special I left out earlier though, because I was saving it here for the end, as I feel like it perfectly wraps up these two in a way I never could.
When I wake up in the morning, the first thing I think about is Amber. When I go to bed, she's the last thing on my mind. It's kind of ironic, but I found my perfect person when I was starving on an island in the middle of Panama.
I remember always telling my friends, you should date for at least a year before you get engaged. And Rob and I definitely weren't together for a year, so you don't have to put any time limit on love. And I love that.
People say, like, you know, how did you know that Amber was the one and this and that? When you know, you know.
So what do you think about Rob and Amber and their story so far? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and doubly thanks for liking and subscribing. See you all next time.